to begin with, it brings me immense joy to see all the teaching faculties over here. We're going to have very interesting 2 days of FDP with you all, and this time we are calling it Capacity Building Program. So today, as we prepare for our academic year, these 2 days are going to be enriching, thought-provoking, and full of meaningful conversations. And I'm genuinely excited for everything that you all have to experience. Today, we are going to be focusing on a very relevant, very important topic as well. It is not just trending, but also is deeply relevant to us as academicians, and that is the generational shift and the pedagogical changes that we see in education. I think this is a topic that has been lately coming up in a lot of sessions. So recently, the Department of Human Resources, in collaboration with the United Board for Christian Higher Education, we've conducted a 3-week capacity building program for all the probationary staff and all the teaching faculties, during which one of the topics that kept coming up was the challenges that people are facing. The challenges that people are facing because of the generational shifts that are there, right? So it is not just among our students that we see this, but we also see this amongst our faculties as well. We do have a lot of the staff with us who are from the current generation. So currently, we have 3 generations that are working together. We have the Generation Z, we have the Millennials, and we have Generation Y, right? So there are 3 different generations, meaning different perspectives, different value system, and also a lot of misunderstandings as well. So just to make sure that we are all on the same page, to try and understand how to work together, because as you know, in a Jesuit education institute, we are considered to be collaborators. So to be able to collaborate better, we need to understand how to work together. And for this, we have this session that we have today in the morning, as well as in the afternoon, for us to understand the perspective on Generation Z. So with that, we have our very own faculties who are going to be taking up on today's panel discussion. So today's panel discussion is very timely and essential as well. We need to talk, listen, reflect, understand each other better as we navigate this ever-evolving educational landscape as well. I'm delighted to invite to the stage our panelists, our very own faculty members who bring with them a wealth of experience and unique perspectives. To begin with, I request Dr. Charles Furtado to please come onto the dais, who will be sharing insights on the pedagogical practices of the past and the older generations' approach to teaching. Let's all give him a huge round of applause. Next, we have our very own Pro-Vice Chancellor, Reverend Dr. Father Melvin Dicunna, who will be reflecting on teaching then versus now. Next, we have Mr. Manoj Fernandez, who will discuss media and youth culture, an aspect deeply intertwined with today's learning environment as well. And lastly, we also have Dr. Vidya Vinuta, who will be helping us to understand student behavior from a psychological and behavior lens. And finally, moderating this very own panel discussion with her signature clarity and poise, we have Dr. Mona Mendonça, who will be navigating through the entire panel discussion. Let's give them a huge round of applause. So I encourage each one of you to actively listen, take notes, more importantly, reflect on how your own perspectives are working over here. Towards the end of the session today, we will be having a Q&A. So please ask questions, please converse. Let's try and navigate through this together as well. Okay, so let's make this an open, enriching, and collaborative space for all of us. Thank you all once again for being here, and let's get this started.
So good morning to everyone. You can wish me good morning. Good morning. And welcome you all to what they call as the capacity building program. And this time, it's going to be very, very unconventional. So why do I say this? On to my right is Generation X. On to my left, there are millennials. Working in the same institution, with different perspectives, with different experiences in life, with different approach towards education. So if you ask me, is this topic relevant? Let me just give away a clarity, the theme of this panel discussion. Bridging the gap, generational shifts and pedagogical change in education. Why should we be sitting here till 12:30? That's right. Discussing about a topic, listening to the experts, why? So even I had this question, why? And then as I started browsing, internet had so much to say. Why is it important? St. Aloysius, deemed to be university, which was started in the year 1880, has seen 7 generations of students. The first generation, what they call it as the lost generation, people born between 1883 to 1900. I doubt it is not a right phrase to use as the lost generation, but it's been called as the lost generation for the only reason this generation was clueless. They were the first time college goers, first time being exposed to educational system, first time trying to understand what learning process is. And the next generation is the greatest generation, children born between 1901 to 1927, who had witnessed the First World War. Amidst all the difficulties in India, with limited accessibility, the craving for education still remained. The respect for the facilitators remained. Guru Devo Bhava, all these slangs, which now looks like a very fading aspect, as far as education is concerned. So this generation, what was called as the greatest generation, who made it with all difficulty, with all struggles. And then we had the silent generation, born between 1928 to 1945, who witnessed the Second World War, where the entire third world country went through tremendous change, which brought a lot of destruction mentally and physically, where governments changed, education system changed, but yet had to struggle to just get out and get education, get themselves enlightened. And this is also where the relation between the students and the teacher went under tremendous change. And then came the baby boomer generation, who were born between 1946 and 1964, when India went through the independence movement, filled with patriotism, and they were very open to learn something new, because this was a time when among the upper strata of the society also traveled to different places, and then started getting a lot of education. Newspaper, press, had a lot of impact on the education system. And then came the Generation X, who are still serving in this institute, who are the products of the old system, which carried the value system, which kept education very transparent, very ethical. Code of conduct was followed upright, and there was no compromise with quality. And then came our generation, the millennial, who were exposed to every kind of technology for the first time. We have seen the antenna, the radio, and then the dish connection, what we said, and today the period of AI. And we are also a very confused lot. A confused lot, because modernity to India pumped in all of a sudden is not something that is appreciated. Everything takes time in evolution. So it has its own pros and cons. And then is our Generation Z, born between 1997 to 2012. It's not their mistake. They are born with a digital setup. They are much more quicker. They are much more prone towards any kind of a technology. They are very adaptable. They are open for new thoughts. And the most misunderstood lot, the Gen Zs. As per the research says, it is difficult to work with the Gen Zs. It is told it's difficult, but I would say it's not difficult. It is we have to try to, fit in our shoes to understand this generation, because they come up with new ideas. They have new kind of set of perspective, how they look at life. They are energetic, they are super talented, they are very quick when it comes to technology. And let me tell you, 53% of the Gen Zs below the age of 10 had an opportunity to get into mobile phones and technology. They constitute 11% of world's population, all right? And having said that, today we are dealing with another generation, Generation Alpha. And this is a little difficult to handle. And what we do is, most of the time, even me teaching for more than 17 years now, people with 30 years of experience, people more than 10 or 15 years of experience, at the end feel that they are very different, because their attention span is limited to a few minutes. They are very good in technology, therefore we see them only delving themselves into technology. People think that they don't want to work hard, but we fail to understand they believe in working smart. So how should we go about with them? What kind of approach we need to have? if we want to see change in them, how much of change we need to bring in our pedagogical method, especially when education is something that keeps evolving. How evolved are we? How far are we going to go with this blame game that the generation we are addressing is very difficult to handle, a very strong nut to be cracked. So today we are going to have a discussion from different perspective, from different generation people are going to address on these issues. Therefore, if you ask me, is this theme relevant? It is the need of the hour. We need to understand that it's the need of the hour, and it's not too late. And especially when we have a lot of youngsters here, first-time teachers, perhaps this kind of a knowledge really helps us to bring in new ideas, new methods, new strategies, as we begin a new academic year from next week. So having said that, I take this privilege to introduce our first panelist for the day. That's none other than Dr. Charles Furtado. As we know, Dr. Charles Furtado is very favorite to admin block because he's our immediate boss. And he's been teaching for the past 36 years, 35 years in Aloysius. And he's the Associate Professor, Department of English, Director of Admin Block, and most of all, a person who has seen change, the generational shifts. And being a father of two beautiful daughters also gives him an edge to understand how the generation has shifted over a period of time. And today he's going to enlighten us on the theme, generational gaps in human connection in education, wherein he's going to bring new perspectives, he's going to bring in things like the classroom culture, and various aspects that's related to education and the evolving phase of it. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our first panelist with a huge round of applause as he speaks on the theme, generational gaps in human connection in education. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Mona, for setting the tone and for that beautiful introduction. A lot of things I'm listening and hearing for the first time. All these different generations. In fact, it made me feel quite Neanderthal. But then when I think back, I really don't feel Neanderthal. Maybe that is because of my profession. That is because, as you said, I dwell with layers of generations. Have seen, I don't know, you made a calculation also. I joined in 1991, so that makes it quite a few generations of students also. And I'm very proud to say that I started in the composite institution, where there was a single principal from PUC till degree. And I think after about 8 or 9 years, in the meanwhile, we had already started preparing for autonomy, mind you, with Ignatian pedagogy and a lot of inputs being given to our generation, Generation X, I think. Yeah. And in the year 1999, 2000, as we entered the new millennium, there was a bifurcation. Some of us had to go to the PUC, others had to remain in the degree. And then, of course, we got autonomy. 2007, as soon as autonomy came in here, about a year or so, I was given greener pastures in the form of the evening college. So I went to the evening college and spent 14 precious years there. It was a different world altogether. So I can very literally tell you all, I've been working day and night in this hallowed ground of St. Aloysius College. And I have gained a lot in the bargain. Different worlds altogether. You can just imagine flagship institution, day college, and evening college, which was very true to the Jesuit mission of option for the poor, wherein students who earned during the day learned during the evenings. They came all tired, sat in our classes. I remember my first class at the evening college. I walked into the classroom. They were all staring at me. About 20, 22 BA students, final year BA. They were senior to me in the evening college. And maybe they had heard that somebody will come from the day college. Most probably somebody who speaks English in the Yankee style. And they might have been worried whether we will be able to follow him, whether we will be able to gel with him, make a sort of a connection with him. So for the first 10 minutes, I just shed my English apart and spoke to them in Kannada. Mind you, there is a philosophy that English teachers should never speak in Kannada. But then I am not one of those who subscribe to that. I feel a teacher has to be adaptable. A teacher has to be able to respond to his world, which is his classroom. So the context becomes very important. So, pardon me if I'm going to speak about myself in the 15 minutes that I've been given, not for any other reason, but to share my experiences. So, as I was introduced, I've been here for 35 years, like many of my colleagues here, and I'm sure they will subscribe to my thoughts today. I am really privileged to get this opportunity to represent Generation X as one of the panelists here. And I would like to think aloud. So don't expect any well-prepared progression in my presentation. I am going to think aloud, literally. I might go zigzag a little bit, but that is how memory works. And I got up in the morning and I put together some points here so that I don't miss out on the important points. Other than that, my preparation is basically thanking the organizers for putting me in this panel. I'm really happy to be here. So, with that sort of an interlude, or whatever you call it, prologue, let me make one statement. I think when people ask you, who are you? You have various ways to answer it. Usually we go by roles. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a whatnot. But for me, I am a teacher. I mean this. I'm a teacher who belongs to a generation of teachers. If you ask me from childhood, did you dream of becoming a teacher? I'm not really sure. But somehow I became a teacher, and I wouldn't exchange that for any other profession in the world. You might ask me why. Of course, we were some of the few who were lucky enough later on to get a very good salary also. But that is not the only thing here. Somehow I feel that I'm not 59 years old, maybe 49 or 50. And I attribute this basically to be among students, day in and day out. I think there is something of a Chiranjeevi that the teachers are blessed with. You know, you live and you live long in spirit, in heart. That brings me to the point that I wanted to make very quickly, because I have very little time, I know that, and I don't want to overshoot my time also. So I will not bore you with my autobiographical details, why I said I come from a family of teachers, but my mother was a headmistress. She worked in a school called Bharatiya Samskritiya Vidyapita, and my grandfather was the first headmaster of the Mission High School, which is supposed to be the first school of Dakshina Kannada. I'm proud of all these things. During Madras presidency, I believe he got a gold medal in English then. I'm making the connections because I also happen to be a teacher of English. Anyway, let me come to 1991 very quickly. I remember my first class, somewhere in the second floor, 304, 5 or 6, I'm not very sure, one of the 3 classrooms. From there, I could see the sea. Believe me, I could see the sea. And I came from Bangalore. 1 year, I worked part-time in 3 or 4 institutions, which were like matchboxes. And seeing this beautiful edifice of St. Aloysius College, I was completely lost in admiration. And let me tell you of a tradition that was there in the English department during those days. They used to try to homogenize the heterogeneity that is automatically there in a classroom. So far as English is concerned, I'm using this as an example. You can extend it to your different disciplines also, I'm sure. Our Victor was the head of the department during those days, and we had very iconic teachers in Professor Subramanya, Professor Sunny Tharappan, just to name a few. They used to give a test which we called a streaming test. And in this streaming test, Students were, given a multiple choice. There was a punch card sort of a thing, and we used to mark them accordingly. And all those who scored well in English were put in the so-called top batch. And all who did not do well in English were put in the so-called bottom batch. It was called A batch, and the top batch was usually G or H. And mind you, in the department, there were experts for this also. Professor Subramania invariably went to the A batch, and Professor Sunny Tharappan invariably went to the H batch. H batch had a large number of students, more than 100. A batch had only 30 or 40. So the whole logic was to give individual attention to the A batch students and give them a bridge course for nearly 1 month on grammar. I remember Professor Subramania's textbook. I'm sure others also would tell me. He used to get it specially bound with one leaf between pages. And his notes, preparation used to fill up the entire page. Mind you, I'm not talking about good and bad here. I'm giving you objectively what used to happen in 91. Whether homogeneity is good, whether heterogeneity is good, is a matter of debate. And I myself am not very clearly on one side here. But then that used to happen during those days. And Charles Furtado, Dr. Alvin Desa, and the others who joined in 1991 were sent to the D and E batches. These were right in the middle. The top batches had all the so-called creamy layer. The bottom batch had the Kannada medium students, and the D and E had the smart students. And the newcomers were sent to these batches and left to fend for ourselves. And these students were very good in aviation and in all other, skills. And holding their interest was a challenge. And I'm happy to say that all of us, though we were left to our own, prowess, we managed quite well simply because Generation X had this empathy that we could exercise in our classroom, put ourselves in the position of the smart students, and make sure that we were able to identify, or they were able to identify themselves with us. So that is something I wanted to say. And maybe that is the reason why almost throughout my career, I'm sure there are 10 or 15 students of mine in this gathering here. So some of you might remember my classes. My classes were always activity-oriented. If you notice, I used to have quizzes, I used to have vocabulary exercises, we used to play dumb charades. Of course, all these types of methodologies had their own critics then, and I'm sure even now. This man is trying to while away his time. Maybe, I'm just throwing it up here. Or there might be people who had already seen some sort of innovation in the teacher then itself. And here is somebody who is making the students learn with certain activities which made sure that they don't fall asleep. So there is something I wanted to tell you. Fast forward to 1999-2000. I'll just take a few more minutes. I think I remember this as the birth of Sahodaya. I need to talk about this not because I was involved in Sahodaya, but because I see this as a pedagogical innovation. I remember talking to Father Prashant, the then principal, and he told very clearly, it is not enough if you just train a few people in mobility. We should somehow evolve a sort of a pedagogy through an association or an outreach program. Mind you, this was in 2000. And he said, we have to be more and more heart-oriented rather than just mind-oriented, which is what our syllabi at the moment is, or the curriculum at the moment is. It made a big impact on me, Alvin sir, and many others who were there around at that time. We believed him. And then, of course, we started taking our students outside. See, now we do this. Sahaya is there, and a lot of things, wonderful things are happening today. But just imagine, this is year 2000. Maybe Aloysius was the only college having something like Sahodaya. And you know, Sahodaya simply means blooming together, growing together. I firmly believe in the fact that the teacher grows along with his or her students. A teacher can never afford to be a stagnant pool of water. Just because I come with a PhD, just because I come with an MPhil, doesn't mean anything. Not that I should not be good in my subject. Don't get me wrong, dear friends. You should be good in your subject. Otherwise, students will not respect you. But along with that, you have to be a human being who is heart-oriented and mind-oriented. I think this is what Ignatian pedagogy is all about. If you can just, remove all the jargon and the definitions, it all boils down to the fact that see a human in your student and allow the student to see a human in his or her teacher. Otherwise, we go in there with all our kavacha and kundalas, fully armored. You can't even recognize the teacher because you are trained already how to walk into a class. You have to be strict. You're a policeman. You have to have your, you have to do that talim, whatever, right? Bisikondu olaga hogudu. Why? Scare them. So long as there is fear in the classroom will be fine. No, not at all. Long run, this will not work. Believe me. I think you should create an ambience where the teacher is accepted by the students, not as a Trivikrama or a Medhavi or a perfect man, but somebody with all the flaws, still trying to show some concern and trying to share whatever he or she has learned during his education, which was again a different system altogether. I have a lot of things. That's why you should not give people who are close to retirement a chance like this, because you have memories flooding your mind and a lot of things to share. But then I will cut short everything and just tell you that let me just give one small anecdote which I experienced myself, and then maybe I'll come to the theme of the panel discussion and then maybe close. Okay? Well, this happened again during the principalship of Father Prashant Martha. I happen to be the director of the Students' Council. Some of you might know this story. I've used this many times because it really impacted me that day. I had a class till 3:15. It was the oath-taking ceremony. Already the elections were over. The elected representatives were supposed to take the oath. Father Prashant was supposed to come at 3:15. So I told the council members, arrange everything. Our Sahodaya hall, which was not called Sahodaya then. But then, I left my register in the department, English department, and walked towards the Sahodaya hall. When I went there, I was very much, agitated, frustrated, angry, because I saw a small banner hanging there. The podium had been set, but everything else was not arranged. Chairs were not put, and it was looking very desolate. And I looked at my watch and I found that there were very few minutes left for the principal to come there. I was supposed to go and escort him. I really didn't know what to do. And all these people were scattered everywhere, the council members, the office bearers. Nobody seemed to be taking any responsibility. And I have always had a short fuse. Nowadays, I'm much better. And at that time, it almost started erupting. And I'm sure students saw that change happening in me. I started telling them, where are everybody? I told you all to keep everything ready. And I don't know what happened at that moment. Chairs were stacked on either side of the Sahodaya hall. I just walked towards one of the stacks and started pulling down the chairs and walked to keep the chairs. They didn't allow me to put even one chair. Somebody, I don't know where they all emerged from. And they took the chair from me, and within 2 minutes, the whole hall was, arranged to perfection. In fact, I saw servant leadership, which came much later as a theory, very much in this experience that I had. You talk about walk your talk, you talk about practice what you preach. I felt that day that the students look at the teacher and try their best to respect the teacher and even maybe imitate the teacher, or maybe I don't know how you can look at that, but that day everything happened all at once, and that made an impact on me. So that is not inside the classroom. This episode happened outside the classroom, And there were students from different batches there, council members. So it worked wondrously, and this was somewhere, I think, in the late 90s, 1997, 98, somewhere there that this happened. Okay, now let me come to the topic at hand. This Udayavani cartoon also came sometime long back, maybe in the early 2000. This also is something I have quoted often, because this is also something which compares the teachers. It was in Kannada. There was one person, a policeman with his lathi, and another teacher with his duster and chalk piece. And the caption was something like this: Polisa avanannu oddu ಒಳಗಾಗ್ತಾನೆ, ಶಿಕ್ಷಕ ಒದ್ದು ಹೊರಗಾಗ್ತಾನೆ ಅಂತ. I don't know whether it is relevant here. Somehow I just thought about it. It was attitude, basically. We all grew up in this kind of teaching setup. I remember standing outside my principal's room. Thank you so much. That's what I said, 59, 60, dangerous years. Keep them out, actually. No, I'll finish. Yes. Well, I was talking about standing outside my principal's room, 8th standard, 9th standard. And they used to make us wait for 2 minutes also. Then once we go in, we have to extend our hand. And then there was a foot ruler. The foot ruler could be used in different ways. Principals are skilled at that. And either use it like this or like this. And you have to quietly just extend your hand. And the punishment is such that you remember it for quite some time. It makes an impact and leaves a lasting impression. I'm using all the MC quotes. Okay, now my last few minutes. Now, I was very much impressed by this topic. Sahasra ma'am also said that this is a very trending topic. Mona ma'am also said. Now, the topic is bridging the gap, generational shifts and pedagogical change in education. Let me look at bridge here. So bridge usually means to connect. And that means there was something on the other side, there is something on this side, and it needs to be bridged. Let me make it very clear, this is not a debate. Which is better? Not at all. That was good for those times. What we see now is good for the times that we are in, and maybe the times to come. The teacher is there in the middle, and people like us who are seated here have been there all through. So who had to make the changes? Who had to make the adaptations? We had to make the adaptations. Technological boom. Children 10 months old with mobiles. We did not have that luxury, within inverted commas. I always use it within inverted commas. But then I have tried my best, and I'm somewhere so far as technology is concerned. Most of you know how good I am in using the computers. But at least I have learnt enough to manage. But then this bridge, I'm talking about the bridge here, we should not burn bridges. Being an English teacher, this is an idiom which will hold us in good stead, I feel. Don't burn your bridges. Use bridges to connect, to learn from the past. Pause always, look back, see what was good about the past. Are some things about the past still relevant now? Hang on to them. But at the same time, be ready for adaptation, be ready for innovation, be ready for change. Because otherwise, you will be left behind. There are a lot of generations here seated in this audience who are very good. And I don't believe in this perfect teacher, ideal teacher concept. I believe in good teacher. Now, who is this good teacher? The good teacher will be able to first know exactly where he or she is. Because today we are living in a world of information at your fingertips. Teachers are not at all required for information. But teachers can never be replaced, believe me. I believe this because that human element, I don't know whether it will also come sometime later, but at the moment, the human element is so important. and only you and I can fill in the blanks. And it is very important that we understand that. So it is good to pause. I'll just read through. I'm in the last minute. Look back at the path we've traversed and reminisce. Remember. Contemplate. Evaluate. Evaluate whom? Evaluate ourselves and the context. See where we stand. Are we relevant? This question has to be answered. To be a good teacher, not the best teacher or the perfect teacher. And finally, carry on with the, and amalgamate. That is another verb I want to use here. I don't know whether the usage is there. Amalgamate is make a beautiful admixture of the past and the present. The salient features or the highlights or the best practices of the past and the present. Don't do away with it completely. Then you will not be complete. Hang on to that. It's like a baton that the relay race, is handed over to the next generation. So it's very important that in a department we have seniors, the middle range, and the newcomers, so that we can all learn from one another. I think that is so important. And I think I have one full page more, Mona ma'am. But I'm sure in the question answer session, some of these things might come. One last point. I brought a beautiful story. I'm not going to narrate that. What is important is the understanding that today we are faced with an unprecedented need for inclusive education, especially post-COVID. Let me make that point and really close. Post-COVID generation, all of us are experiencing this in our classrooms. There are many new challenges. In fact, sometimes we feel very inadequate whether we are trained to handle these cases. I think we should take special interest and train ourselves, because it is part and parcel of our profession, which is also a vocation. So always keep these two words hand in hand. And the good news is, let me close with good news. The new generation comes equipped with new software. I have my friends in the BCA department here, so I'll end on that note. They come with new software. We have to update our old software. Otherwise, that is the final, warning for me. Yeah. So thank you so much for your patient listening. Thank you, moderator ma'am and fellow panelists. Thank you.
Check. So 15 minutes are definitely not enough to narrate your life experience, as a father or as a teacher, of 36 years of a very, very long time. Having said that, there are a few things that really inspired me. One is, how, and I think I would rather quote Khalil Gibran in as one of the very, voluminous book, The Prophet, puts down a very meaningful poem on children, and where he says, do not try to make the children like you. Rather, try to be like them. Why? Because life doesn't go backward nor tarries with tomorrow. Having said that, I very much resonate with the concept of bridge that you brought in here as a metaphor, and the kind of changes I think each one as a teacher will have to ponder on and practically somewhere implement. So thank you so much, sir, for expressing your rich experience, and keeping forward your experiences as a teacher. So I think we can have another round of applause for the time and the expertise, as I said, that comes out of a very rich experience of 37 years. And now amidst us, we have another expert, who's none other than Reverend Father Melvin Dicuna. And a very brief introduction to Reverend Father Melvin Dicuna. He has embraced the life of service and dedication, and his choice was to bring in a lot of change as a person when he took up a decision of getting into the religious life. And he has also seen generations of students and has also tried to evaluate and analyze, where a teacher stands today. And currently, I feel very proud to say that he is serving as the Pro Vice Chancellor of St. Aloysius Deemed to be University, and a person with 23 years long teaching and research experience, and he belongs to the PG Department of Biotechnology, and he has also served as the rector of St. Joseph's, Bangalore, and as principal of Loyola Institutions, Manvi, and that gives him a lot of credibility to speak on the theme, for which he's been invited as a panelist, and that is the role of teachers then and now, from authority to facilitation. Over to you, Father.
Thank you, Dr. Mona, for the introduction. Good morning to everyone. It is a privilege I feel to be part of this particular conversation. As a faculty member, before that I was a student here in 1986 when the co-education started in this college. Before that I was at Bajpayee School. There also co-education started in 1983. So wherever I went, ladies were there along with me. So that way, the life has been very colorful and beautiful. But at the same time, as a faculty member, when I joined here, as sir mentioned, it was a composite college, and PUC students and degree students, wherever you are asked to go, you have to go. HOD will decide which class you have to take, or I don't know the system as such, but that was the system then. Whether there was a generation gap or whether there was a generation shift, I am not in a position to understand as such. Whatever the concept madam mentioned, whether X or Y or Z, alpha or beta or gamma, I am not sure whether these categories exist as such. Okay, maybe you can stand for 30 seconds. Will you please stand? As the video is going to be played, you see the beginning, you see the middles, you see the end. Is that okay? Yes, please. Simple river. Sound, I think, is not there, but you can imagine. Please be seated. In Kannada, I don't know whether it's Raghavanka or Kumaravasa, there is the expression, Neerolage Bemardam Uragapataka. Ranna. Shatpadi yaudadu? Anyway, the Kandapadya, okay. Sometimes you feel like that. What is going through within my self is, I'm very nervous as such. Because what to say about my history or the development, it is not very easy as such. But when I look at this flowing river, I remember that poem about Honolulu. Staviragiriya Chalanadase, Mookavanada Geetadase, Srashti Horeya Hotta Tireya, Naguvina Sena. Basically, Jangamas. We move from place to place. Primary in one place, high school in another place, PUC in third place, BSc in another place, MS in from place to place, like a Jangama. If the weight, wherever the bag you are taking, if the lighter the baggage, better the journey will be. Also, in your mind and in your heart, if you are keeping that 1942 pain and anguish, slowly you will realize unnecessary tension. So I feel in my own life, the change is possible provided we are ready to learn. Whether it is from the chalk and talk method or the smart board or the notepad, whatever things have happened, I've been open for the reality. Also this feedback mechanism. Feedback for the Jesuits, we have got feedback every stage. We are not sure when from one stage whether it will go to the next stage. All depends on the feedback what they give. But one thing is, as a pro vice chancellor, I remember Sandeep Shastri in Bangalore mentioned, what is the role of pro chancellor? Somebody asked him. Then he said, you should not be against the chancellor. So here, the context is, what is the role of the pro vice chancellor? You should not be against the Vice Chancellor. That is important task as such. But whatever it may be, but you cannot sacrifice the truth as such. Because whether you are a leader, whether you are a teacher, you must be true to your own self. I was taking a bike from outside gate number 1, going down to Jyoti. And traffic was so much, everywhere the vehicles were there. And the two-wheelers, they started going in the footpath, in the bike. I also followed them. When I reached the Jyoti circle, policeman asked me to stop. I stopped and I removed the helmet. Then he asked me, who are you and where are you going? Some questions he asked. Then I said, I am a teacher from Aloysius. If the teachers only do like this, then how to tell the students? So then I realized, yeah, teachers have to walk the talk. Teachers have to follow whatever they are telling their students. So then I realized, so whether you are a leader, whether you are a parent, if you practice what you preach, then your students will consider, as Charles sir mentioned, if you start doing the things, then they will know, yes, our teacher is the one who maintains the time or keeps up to his word. I think that is very important. And when we see about this generation gap, whether I can have friends across generation, I can speak to those people who are in their 90s, also small children. When you have that openness, I can play with them. So sometimes you realize, oh, when I take the steps, I realize, oh, there is some pain is there is some ache is there. After some time you forget, because if our timetable is having a certain discipline, all these gaps can be removed. So today, we speak of our students as digital natives. They can understand, they are quick with all the things because they are from DigiLoca. We are from some other loca at one level, I feel. But at the same time, we can have that connection. For the Praveen Matis, who did his studies in Namur, I happened to visit that place. Then I told him, is this a Jesuit community? He said, yeah, this is for the younger people. I said, what about the seniors? No, they have a different community. Why different community for the senior people? No, we should not waste our time in do this way, do that way. So that is why there is a separation. It is like in the hostel also, one block for the PUC, one for the degree, one for the PG, one for girls, one for boys. When I went to Seattle University, I asked, where is boys hostel, where is girls hostel? They said there is nothing like boys hostel, girls hostel. There is a room for the people to stay. Whichever the room is allotted to them, they will stay there. There is no problem at all. Then I was thinking, St. Aloysius College also, can we have that hostel? Wherever you want to stay, you have the hostel. No, whether there will be problems will be there. No problem. We have got a kindergarten. We have got some. So here what I see is, we need to have openness to go beyond the written rules and regulations. Change is possible when people think, articulate. In my class also, a couple of students are here. They'll be able to tell me whether it is true what I'm saying or whether it is only imagination. It is basically what I see is a process. I would not like to maintain the notes. After some time, when the new year begins, again new notes. Old notes, if there is available, because sometimes what happens is, when we are transferred, we leave the things here, go to some other place. I remember once I did not have the notes. Then I happened to meet St. Agnes teacher. See, this particular topic, I don't have the notes. Then they told me, we have the notes. We have got excellent notes. And when I saw the notes, it is my own notes. It has gone one round and it has come back. So sometimes you will see, what you discard, somebody else will pick it up and they will make use of that. So do good and continue to appreciate one another. I feel life is a process, it's a kind of a journey. We need to be young people. I see earlier Father Matthew Lewis, or whether it's Father Leo de Souza, they were ever ready to learn. A, S, D, F. Matthew Lewis was learning computers. Then I asked him, Father, you are learning this? Yeah, I am interested to learn. Then I remember Father Austin, he used to say, this mobile is not functioning properly. Now we have Father Lewis in the community. Every day he will make some errors, some mistakes and so on. But the community is in a position to accommodate and accept, then the life will become beautiful. So in the department also, as Sir mentioned, For me, in the English department, first it was Sanitarapan, then it was Masido, then it was Lord Swami. Multiple teachers were there. Maybe I joined as a good student. Maybe over the years I must have become something else, I'm not sure. Maybe that was the reason why they changed the batches maybe after 6 months as such. So in life also there is nothing is constant. As the river which is flowing, we need to flow with the current situation. So if you are resisting, then life will become very difficult. So if you flow with the current as such, then I feel life will become meaningful, education will become also meaningful. I have seen our students. Sometimes I visited their houses also. Whenever there's some problem is there, you go and see the situation. I remember in hostel, one boy was found drunk. And wardens told me he is drinking, there is some habits are there which are not very helpful. Then I said, maybe I will meet the parents. Father came early in the morning drunk. Then what to have the conversation as such? How to complain to his son? And the father is telling me, Father, what you do is, you lock the gates here. You lock the rooms. You make sure they do not come out at all. Then I said, if you only come drunk, then how to give the example for the children? So that is why when we tell our students, don't do this way, don't do that way, don't use the mobile, don't use something else, then we ourselves are doing, then we lose the credibility. So that is why I feel in Asha Kiran, I was a superior for a while for our college-going scholastics. Generally, if there are scholastics are in your class, if you say, are you coming from Pampwell, Asha Kiran, they will try to say, no, I'm from that area only, because they want to be as much as possible anonymous. If you say brother, father, then they will say, conduct the prayer and do this, do that and so on. So that is why they will say, no, I'm coming from that side only. So, Asha Kiran, I remember, having a mobile was a grievous sin. So if somebody is found with the mobile, then we'll say, no, leave the place and go because you are having the mobile. But after some time we realize, no, we need to change. We need to have communication. Now forget about one mobile. They may be having 2 mobiles or 3 mobiles. So important thing is change. Adapting to the change is necessary in our own lives. For the teacher also, now today you have been asked to do Malaviya mission or some other mission. Sometimes you see, why these kind of things? You will remain green provided you are open. Sometimes some trimming is required. In the process of trimming, plants will grow very luxuriant manner. We have one butterfruit plants in our campus next to our refectory. And I was suggesting to Arjun, maybe we can cut it. Because I contacted Chiguru Nursery and he told me better to cut that tree off. Then this time we saw the plant started flowering. And 2 or 3 butterfruits are there, small ones. So sometimes when you plan to cut, the tree also responds. Similarly, I remember one of the students came and said, see, I joined to become a Jesuit, but I find it extremely difficult. During the exam time, he said, I want to skip the exam. I want to become a brother. Then our local superior, Father Walter, called Prashant and said, see, one brother finds it difficult in his studies, so he wants to skip the exam. Then Prashant told him, ask him to take the bag and go home, not to stay here. Immediately he started studying and he did very well in his studies. Sometimes what happens is, Sama, Veda, Danda, all these things we have to try. Some students you have to give a lot of kindness, polite ways of going about, things are possible. Today what I see is, relationship is very important. Students will remember how you have treated them in the classroom, outside the classroom. Sometimes they may not know. We may ask many questions. We prepare the class maybe 1 hour or 2 hours or 1 week before. But students also have got their own desire to learn. Sometimes, as sir mentioned, they may not have the language capacity or they may not understand the concept. But if you make them feel good or if you give a kind of a self-confidence, then I'm sure that students will be able to pick up. And today we are in a digital world as such. And knowledge is available. Knowledge is available in plenty. But what is required is whether we can pick and choose what is necessary. And we can put the concept in a proper manner. So I feel the role of the teacher is not to give just the notes or give a lot of PPTs, but to understand the concepts and to walk with the students. Sometimes it is easy to teach the best students or maybe the first row students, but important is whether I can be inclusive in my approach so that the urban students and the rural students, whether they are from this caste or that caste or this creed or that creed, they'll be able to understand one another and appreciate also. And this authority, I think when we go to the classroom, authority should be kept outside. You are a teacher and you are connected with the students so that you are in a position to appreciate them. So I suppose teachers are evolving over the years. In the process of being with the students, in the process of understanding them, we develop this authenticity or respect or emotional connection. So whether friend or foe, I remember one day students are all restless. There was some strike was going on. And I asked them, do you want to be part of the strike? They said, yes. Then what to do? I can't ask them, please go. Then I said, maybe after this class you can go and join. So they were all ready, eager to run outside. So sometimes we need to understand the feelings of the students, but at the same time, the value system, the principles also are required. Sometimes in the class, there are only 2 students are there. I say, no problem. Since 2 of you have come, we'll have the class. Then after some time, 3rd one will come, 4th one will come. Within 5 minutes, entire class will be there. So if you say there are only students and if you leave the class, there will be a different story. So that is why what I feel is, our pedagogy, as Ratio Studiorum says, we need to be addressing the total person. Jesuit education is holistic type of education. At one level, we need to give the knowledge or the head level, while the other level, it is addressing the feelings or the heart level. When I understand person's difficulties, their struggles, their background, sometimes when you do the selection also, we are saying, don't go by merit only. See their entire situation, where the student is coming from. Are they from first generation? Can we give the chance for them? So when we understand the students, their background, we'll be able to appreciate. And accordingly, we will be able to develop this new pedagogy as such, reaching the students in their own context, in their own background. I remember accompanying our ISC team near MRPL area. And we saw students, they know these plants. So sometimes they may not know in English, but the local names they are familiar. Or maybe about the fishes, maybe about the birds, and what is their behavioral pattern. So I suppose if you can give the students, whichever the area they are good at, I'm sure they will be able to tell their own stories, and these stories will be helpful for us for the discussion, and in the process of Socratic questioning, our life will be becoming beautiful. Some years before, it was at night, maybe around 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. Rector, that time it was Frankie Serravo, he knocks at my door around 3 or 4 o'clock. Then he tells me, there is some trouble in the ladies' hostel, please go and help them. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, night, there is some trouble, what to do? So I requested another younger priest, please accompany me, we'll go to the hostel, see what can be done. Luckily, as we were coming out through the gate number 1, Hoysala vehicle was there. Then I told the police, sir, there is some trouble in the hostel itself, can you please accompany us? So they came. Problem was, some boys had come to outside the hostel, they were there. So meanwhile, the police caught them and they took them to the police station. Then rector told me, see, hereafter I don't want to lose my sleep. You have the mobile, so the sisters can call you directly. So earlier there were no mobiles. When the need of the mobile was felt, when there is something happens, change is possible. When they feel existential situation becomes a little difficult, and accordingly you take the new means. So similarly, what I feel is, whether it's the screen time, what is happening? Sometimes what happens is, when we are scrolling to the messages or something else, you realize, oh, I spent 1 hour, I spent 2 hours, I spent 3 hours. Because our boys also, once in a way when I go around, 3 o'clock also they are not sleeping. Then I say, what you're doing? No, I am speaking to my mother. Then I said, I will tell your mother also. No, not my mother, my cousin. My cousin will become something else. Then I said, no, we will see, we will discuss tomorrow, because now it is 3 o'clock. So sometimes we don't know what is night, what is daytime. So changes are possible. I think we need to understand our students, especially if they come first hour and start dozing. Maybe they had a busy night schedule. So accordingly, we need to understand them. This empathy is very important. The patience of listening to the students, and meanwhile, they will improve. I'm sure that life is beautiful, provided we are in a position to walk the talk and flow with the flowing river. So for that, I will conclude my words. So I'm sure that all of us will be evolved in a nice manner. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Father. I think he deserves a huge round of applause for being deadly honest. And we are really excited to interact with you, Father, because, again, you try to bring in the concept of inclusive education, which Dr. Charles was also referring to. And as we all know, change is the only constant. And over a period of time, Jesuit as an institution has also been way ahead of times. When we make an analysis of other institutions, perhaps we were quite early in taking, even though the baby steps, but are able to make a lot of difference because of the holistic approach what we had. So with that, now it's time to listen to another panelist, Mr. Manoj Fernandez, who is going to speak to us on the theme, Media, Mindset and the New Learning Culture. And I deem it to be my privilege to introduce Mr. Manoj, who serves currently as Assistant Professor in the Department of BBA. He holds a post-graduation in Commerce, and currently, he has the following responsibilities. He's the coordinator of Digital Media Cell, President of the Forum of the Speakers Club, Assistant Dean of School of Management, and he holds more than 10 years of experience. But the one thing that makes him more qualified to speak to us is his involvement with the youth. And he, being a very, very vibrant coordinator of the social media team, has been able to understand the algorithm of Instagram and other social media handles. So with a huge round of applause, may I please invite you, Mr. Manoj Fernandez.
Good morning. So just try to decode this social media trend, which I'm about to explain. Hayao Miyazaki, a 84-year-old man from Tokyo who is an expert in handmade animation, recently gave a statement which said, "This AI trend lacks human emotions and is an insult to life itself." Right? And this statement created a lot of buzz. He was referring to the famous Ghibli trend because in 1985, he originated this concept. Just few years ago, we used to say, no phones inside the classroom. After COVID, the classroom itself went inside the phone. And today, we are on the threshold where it is man versus machine. I have just 5 points to explain my opinion. One, the digital impact on the learning pattern. You ask any youngster who has been binge watching for 1 hour and going reels after reels, and you ask him, what did you watch for last 1 hour? He has no answer. Quite rightly, Oxford Dictionary in the year 2024, the word of the year 23, it was Riz, 24, it was brain rot, meaning consumption of unproductive and excessive digital content. That's called as brain rot. And this is the generation which is going after bite-sized content. When I joined this institution, in our FDP, it was told to us, if it's a 1 hour class, after 30 minutes, maybe have a small deviation, crack a joke, ask a quiz-related question, so that they can regroup their thoughts and pay attention. Then it became like, in just few years ago, after every 10 minutes, give a break to them because their attention span is reducing. Now, in my PhD literature review, which is on digital marketing, I came up with this staggering fact. The present attention span, which helps the student to have first impression on you, is 3 to 5 seconds, within which they'll pass on the judgment what they can expect. But enormous amount of online content is getting generated. How many of you tried Googling your own name? Please try this. When I tried my name in Google Images, I could come across a 10-year-old picture, which was then my Twitter DP, and I've deleted that account, but my picture is still there in Google Images, which amplifies. Nothing can be deleted from online. It is a double-edged sword. I have one of my students who walked up to me and said, "Sir, I have learnt online editing through some online tutorials, and today I'm editing some short films and I'm earning 2 lakh rupees per short film." I have also witnessed some student one day in final year BBA, I had to go and take an extra class from 3:30 to 4:30. Students were very reluctant, portions were not done, and I started using the projector. Within no time, I could see a caption on the PPT screen, "Sir, go back." I've heard about Simon go back. Mona ma'am had discussed this thing. "Sir, go back." I double checked, is there something wrong with my PPT? And thankfully, quickly I realized one student using his phone has hacked the projector. And he was typing, and that is getting reflected on the PPT. So it is a double-edged sword. Second point, they are desperately looking for social media validation. On April 24th, a lady by name Misha Agarwal from North India committed suicide. She was a law graduate, and the reason being, she had 1 million, that makes 10 lakh Instagram followers. She was a content creator as well. And within 1 month, that 10 lakh reduced into 3 lakh. She lost 7 lakh followers, so she committed suicide. Our college Instagram page has lost 2,000 followers during the vacation. I'm also considering all the options to revamp our marketing strategy. When it comes to this idea, I mean, the validation is important. When we started our Instagram page, we had to collaborate. You know, whenever you want to know whether DC has declared a holiday, you will go to Mangalore Mary Jan, which has more than 3 lakh followers. And we create a content, recent introduction of engineering college and law college, we have sent a collaboration. They'll just click on one button, accept the collaboration, for which college has to pay them 5,000. And just like us, there are minimum 15 to 20 collaborations per day. Imagine their monthly income, they'll give you the GST bill as well. Who has got the most number of Instagram followers in India? Virat Kohli, who has got 27 crore followers. And if at all, let's say Monday is the reopening of St. Aloysius classes, if at all we are making this post and sending the collaboration to him, to accept that collaboration, just to accept, he's not even our brand ambassador, he'll charge 10 to 12 crores. That's the trend. But it becomes really worse when they are looking for validation. I have seen cases where even on live streaming, people took the help of live streaming to commit suicides. So it could be quite a dangerous thing. Maybe an apt metaphor would be, all our present Gen Z or youth or millennials are trying to find a window seat in a sinking Titanic. That's how shallow the approach is. My third point is the impact of informal educators and the concept of narrative setting. Just 30, 40 years ago, if you want to express your opinion in a social platform, either you'll have to write an article in the newspaper, panelist in radio or television. But there was accountability. You can't be anonymous. Today we have fake accounts. Anyone can scribble anything rubbish. Idi Amin, the former Uganda president, made this statement: "I can guarantee you the freedom of speech, but I cannot guarantee you the freedom after speech." Recently, Mangalore police have arrested 6 people for creating provocative posts, and their punishment was they had to come in Instagram and apologize to people. That was their punishment. When we tried this, when Dr. Dennis was our director, there was a kind of a very debatable video which was created inside our campus. Students are in the uniform, one boy is proposing, girl is accepting the proposal, and they uploaded it. Thankfully, it went unnoticed. Not many views. But after 6 months, in one random Instagram page, that video got uploaded and it got 2 million views. So we called these students who are still there in the campus. They said, sir, we do not know who is the admin of that page. So we said, your punishment is you'll have to come and apologize in your own Instagram page. We have done this to St. Aloysius. We offer our apologies. And then they said, sir, even if you suspend us for 1 month, it is okay, but please don't ask to post an apology in our Instagram. Our image will be affected. Now this is how things works. When it comes to the influences, there is someone like Vikas Divya Kirti who is running a YouTube channel to educate IAS aspirants. There is Dhruv Rati whose videos are literally influencing the election results. There is Ranveer Allahabadia whose one comment on India's Got Latent can create literal chaos. But how consistent are these influence? What happened to Byju's? $22 billion was their net worth. Today, literally they are on the verge of shutting down. And the worst part is, they are also helping in creating a narrative. One day in my class, during some discussion, one student stood up and said, sir, this word India is directly out of our colonial mindset. We should call our country Bharat. I said, where did you get this information? That British gave us the name India? No, sir, I've read it in WhatsApp. There's one group and XYZ person sending the messages, keep sending the messages. Luckily, there was this debate, India, Bharat was going on, and I had written an article for one magazine, and the story is this. British have nothing to do with the name India. We have taken it by river Sindhu, and it had 7 other rivers, Sindhu, Jhelum, China, Bias, Ravi, Sutlej, Saraswati. So we were called as the land of Sapta Sindhu, and then came the Persians, and they have some serious pronunciation errors. Sa becomes ha, so they call Sindhu as Hindu in their Persians, present day Iran. Just like how you call, Volkswagen, but the right pronunciation in German is Volkswagen, because ver becomes fur in German. And then comes the Greek, Alexander the Great. The Hindu, they do not have H, it became I. Indus, India. Megasthenes has written a book called Indica. And that's how, so this happened 10,000, 12,000 years ago. Okay, and British came in 1608. So, and thankfully, and how come the word Bharat? A very famous couple, Dushyanta and Shakuntala, their son was Bharata Chakravarti, who had conquered majority of our country. That's why we are the residents of the land of Bharat, so we are the Bharatiyas. But the bottom line is, our constitution says, India, that is Bharat. Article 1. Finish. End of the argument. So, and I could explain this, and I told him, I'm challenging you on this. Please, if at all you are finding the counterfacts, come back. Just don't rely on the WhatsApp messages. My 4th point is, it is about overloaded and unverified information. There are 560 crore internet users worldwide today, and every day 2.5 lakh new videos are getting uploaded into YouTube. 2.5 lakh videos. But the other side of the story, during the recent Operation Sindoor, even before our army could do anything, our news channels have gone and captured the Karachi, Islamabad and all. And finally, the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting had to come out and issue a notice. Please don't play that siren noise in the background, because whenever in Kashmir, Punjab, there were total blackouts, and the blackout was indicated with this siren, and our TV channels were playing it 24/7. Now there is a case wherein, yes, information can empower you. I had one student walking up to my cubicle and said, sir, I have applied for a university in Dublin, Ireland. I said, do you have any relatives? How did it happen? Everything online, sir. I have booked accommodation, everything online. He's from Mysore, so I asked, why are you here? Passed out student. No, sir, I'm here for an attestation. This was some years ago, where one of my colleague who was a NCC officer, gazetted officer, could do the attestation. So when the student was here studying, he had helped him with one attestation. And the student thought, in entire Karnataka, this person is the only gazetted officer who could do my attestation. And he is applying for Dublin with the internet usage. Perhaps they know too much and too less at the same time. And my last point is, how do we reimagine the future and the learning patterns in the years to come? As someone rightly pointed out, change is the only permanent thing. When I was a student, my expectation from maybe Alvin sir is, sir, tell me or teach me something which I don't know and which is not there in the textbook, because I can read it by myself. Now my students are saying, sir, teach me something which I don't know, which is not there in the textbook and which is not there in ChatGPT. Now, how do you teach them something which is not there in ChatGPT? Finland, in the happiness index, they're number 1. They have already inculcated social media ethics into their education system. It is an integral part. But is it possible in India? Today morning, I called up our new dynamic director, and the moment I called, I came across that message, Samajika Madhyama Jahirat, which like tired of it. But then I thought, reflected on this, even though they are spreading this awareness every day in the newspaper you get to read a report, somebody is, a scapegoat for the scam of 25 lakhs, 50 lakhs. People are not learning their lessons. Just imagine, when you saw the first PPT presentation of your life, you were really excited with the animation effects. But today, I had, I keep showing in Speakers Club one documentary on that infamous 2012 Delhi gang rape, Nirbhaya gang rape. So earlier we used to do 45 minutes, we used to show 45 minutes video, then we trimmed it to 30 minutes. Now it has come down to 8 minutes. After 8 minutes, students are restless. The same video, so show something different. So the whole idea is, just like if you are not subscribed for the YouTube Premium, and there is an option called, whenever you click on a new YouTube video, there is an advertisement. So sometimes you will have to wait for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds to click on that option called skip. And whenever we are standing in front of the students, they have the same mindset. They want to click on skip, but they can't. That's why they are sitting. So what we can do is, just like how Instagram offers something new every 2 minutes, maybe we'll have to modify our teaching styles in that method. And they say, don't come up with the cliches. I was asked to teach value education and human sexuality and all those concepts. I started with the textbook definitions, nobody's interested. I did my research a little bit, and then I went up with this anecdote. A couple got married in Delhi, and they were fitness enthusiasts. So they went and purchased Fitbit watches, which will tell you how many calories you have burnt, during exercises. And they also made sure the two watches, their dashboard is synchronized, which means both of them can see the results of each other, so that perhaps they can motivate. My husband has burned 100 calories in jogging, so that I also should do the same thing. So far, so good. Husband had to go to a business tour to some XYZ foreign country. He reached there midnight 1:30. He called his wife and said, I've reached, I'm about to go to sleep, tomorrow I've got a meeting lined up, good night. She disconnected the call. Wife, unfortunately, did not get the sleep. So she is now curious what this person must be doing, how many calories he must have burned while traveling by flight. And she opened the dashboard. From 1:30 a.m. to 2 a.m. local time, within half an hour, 5 minutes ago he has texted good night, husband has burnt 110 calories. Exactly what you are thinking has happened. And husband came back, and this girl had to apply for a divorce. All right? You may not be interested in internet. Internet is interested in you. This is not a Fitbit watch, but it is telling me my time is up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Manoj. Perhaps it makes a lot of sense when he, tries to point out few concerns, that's related to social media, especially the question of validation. For example, when I look at, my own daughters at some time, the way they are influenced by the Korean beauty products. And where's all the information coming from the social media? The use of filters because they are not very comfortable in their own skin. And when we're talking about the much discussed, naming the country, I would not delve deeper into all this. But again, how fake news are actually trying to create a lot of chaos among the students, and how many organizations are using it as a tool to inject negativity as such. So we shall have more discussion on that maybe during the Q&A. And thank you so much for being bold and to keep your ideas as they are. It really takes a lot of gut to speak about things, especially in a secular institution where these days, freedom of speech could also bring us a lot of disadvantage as well. So thank you so much for speaking about these very nuanced factors. I think he deserves a round of applause. Thank you so much, Mr. Manoj. And that brings us to the last panelist of this morning, Dr. Vidya Vinuta D'Souza, who is going to speak on understanding today's students' behavior, motivation, and mental health. Dr. Vidya, who serves as assistant professor in the Department of MSW, is also an IELTS coach. She's also the assistant dean of School of Arts and Humanities, and above all, she's also a soft skill trainer, and who is also known for being bold to voice issues where people think that silence is the only best way. And first of all, ma'am, it's a beautiful topic. Even I'm very much interested, and you yourself being very active with the students, and the kind of rapport you have with the old students. I think over a period of 17 or 18 years, you might have dealt with different generations, understanding them very closely. So I invite you to this particular discussion. And before that, we are really curious to listen to you. Over to you, Dr. Vidya.
Thank you, Dr. Mona. Good morning, everyone. Today, I want to speak about a group we all think we understand. That's our students. But truly understanding them, their behavior, their motivation, and mental health means looking deeper. We have to go beyond what we once knew. We must go beyond our expectations. We often say students these days have changed. Yes, they have. But the real question is this change a bad thing? Or is it just a natural shift that we need to understand? There was a time when students were quiet, disciplined and respectful, and very focused and involved in the classroom. But today, we still see many students being quiet, not for the same reasons though. Often, they are not listening. They are mentally somewhere else. They are disengaged. At the same time, we also have students who are cheerful, talkative, and full of energy. They are not shy, they ask questions, share opinions, and speak up in class without any hesitation. It sounds like a good thing, right? But what do we sometimes do? We stop the class, smile, giggle, and sometimes say something like this. We say, look who's so confident today. Oh, this student thinks they know more than the teacher. We turn their simple question into a classroom discussion. Not about the topic, but about their overconfidence. The poor students start thinking, did I do something wrong by asking this teacher a question? Next time, they may stay quiet just to avoid any attention, any unwanted attention. But really, in a quiet classroom, that one student who dares to speak is a blessing and actually not a problem. But even in such classrooms, many students hesitate to ask questions or speak up. This silence is not always due to laziness or disinterest. Sometimes it is fear. Fear of being judged, fear of looking foolish, and sometimes they are just tired, emotionally and mentally, from the pressure that they face every day. Earlier, during our times, the model was different. Get good grades, get a good job, and have a good life. That was the formula, and many of us, it worked. But today's students are looking for more. They are not just chasing marks, they are chasing meaning. A 2023 study from the Tata Institute of Social Sciences says over 40% of undergraduate students reported that they no longer viewed academic performance as the only path to success. Many said they wanted learning that felt meaningful, not just useful for the job market. This doesn't mean they don't care about their future. It means they want to learn in a way that makes sense to them. They want to enjoy the whole process of learning. They want education to help them understand their life, not just pass the exams. But let's not forget another group of people, group of students that we see, the students who only come for the sake of certificates. They don't seem interested in the classroom, the discussion, the library, or the textbook that we refer. It's easy to label them as lazy and careless and someone who's totally disrupting the whole classroom scenario. But let's take a closer look. Many of these students are first-generation learners. Some of them are first in their families even to pursue a post-graduation degree. Many juggle part-time jobs to support themselves and their families, and others come from a challenging family environments that demand emotional and financial contributions. Their journey isn't just visible, but real and takes strength. For them, the certificate is just a paper for survival. It's to a door to a better job, a better life, and little more dignity. They may not ask deeper questions, but they are fighting deep battles outside it. They are not wrong, they're just trying to stay afloat. One of the biggest challenges we see now is how students talk about mental health. In the past, people did not speak openly about stress. We did not speak openly about stress, anxiety, or depression. But these things were hidden during our times. We totally ignored it. We all agree that many a times we ignored our mental health, but today's students know to speak up. Not for sympathy, but because they know mental health is very important. We also see students using mental health as an excuse to get sympathy. Yes, it's true that sometimes a very few students that in our classes may misuse the term. Just like any system, even support can be taken lightly by some. But we need to remember, for every one student who might use it as an excuse, there are many others who are truly struggling in staying silent. But we doubt every student, we might miss the one who's genuinely needing help. So instead of asking, are they faking it? Maybe we can ask, what made them fake it? The World Health Organization says 1 in 7 adolescents faces mental health issues across the world. So when we say students are lazy or they don't care, let's slow down and think. What if this laziness that we see is actually exhaustion? What if their silence is not disinterest but anxiety? What if they are not arrogant but simply unsure if their place is right in this world? This does not mean we drop our academic standards. It means we raise our level of understanding, because students work hard for teachers they trust. They participate when they feel safe. They grow when they feel they're accepted. Let's remember the phrase Guru Devo Bhava. It meant teachers like God, worthy of great respect. But respect today seems different. Students may not touch your feet anymore, but they will remember you forever if you were kind, if you listened, if you helped them when they were lost. Today, respect is earned not through fear, but through trust, not by power, but by presence itself. So let's stop saying, in my time, we were better, because this is not our time. We did not grow up with constant notifications, climate anxiety, or career confusion. We didn't have time, or we didn't have to learn during a global pandemic. So let's stop judging the symptoms and start understanding the causes. Let's stop trying to make students like us and help them become the best version of themselves. This generation is not wrong, they're just different. They're just navigating a fast, noisy, and a very confusing world. Our job is not to pull them back, but to the past, but it is to walk with them in the present with wisdom, patience, and care. So this is my message, or this is what I wanted to say about the generation today when it comes to their motivation, their mental health, and they themselves. Thank you very much for the organizers.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vidya, for shedding light on the very, very sensitive topic for the day, I believe, mental health. You know, how students with too much of information also tend to misunderstand what mental health is. You know, the other day, while I was speaking to the freshers, you know, in one of the, orientation programs, I was just giving them example as to how the entire slang has changed. When we were small, the biggest word we would understand when we have trouble is tension. And these days you can see a small girl or a boy of 4th standard, you know, using the word trauma. Mama, this is a trauma. I was quite older enough to understand what trauma is. We didn't know what depression was. You know, and our parents also didn't get into depression when really, you know, things were getting bad. You know, they knew to deal with it. But today, you know, you come across many dangerous things. For example, you can't address a student in the class by the way they have been, you know, maybe with their physical attributes. If you say somebody, where's your friend, you know, who's like nice, chubby, healthy? Ma'am, you're body shaming. Oh, all right. If I say, I think this color doesn't suit you much, perhaps you have to go for more of a pastel colors. Ma'am, you being racist. Okay, what do I speak? What do I speak? How do I speak? Therefore, it's a big thing today because the kind of language we use with them. And you know, when she said to understand the behavior, we understand students being very impulsive. Why? Do we take time to understand why? I think this whole journey of teaching is like this. Perhaps even me teaching, you know, for the past 17 years, even now, you don't understand the trick of the trade because the generation changes and we think somewhere they will have to listen to what I say. But boss, they are born in a different generation. So somewhere we need to also try to understand. So we're going to have a more discussion on that. So that brings us to the end of the first part of this panel discussion. And I thank all the panelists for joining us and, you know, speaking on different aspects of pedagogy that's related to generation gap and how to bridge these gaps. So with this, we come to an end. Shifts and pedagogical change in education. I request all of you to kindly take your seat and welcome all our panelists again with a round of applause. There's a lot of time gone, there's a lot of expertise gone into today's session, a lot of time, you know, where they have researched and have really presented the topic in a way, giving a lot of justice to it. And now we are all open to interact with our panelist, and to begin with, Dr. Charles. You know, he was given the theme, that is introduction and overview, generational gaps and human connection in education. I have always seen Charles sir as a man who speaks from his heart. He never comes with statistics to say this is how things are and this is how things have to be. He's a man who believes, you know, in understanding lives through experiences. And during his talk, he actually spoke about, you know, building the bridges. And he used a very beautiful phrase, let's not try to burn the bridges, you know. Having said that, sir, I was kind of confused with the one thing which you were talking about in the traditional education system. You gave an example wherein when you started teaching in the year 1991, how the batches were divided depending on their IQ level. The smarter ones, you know, these days we call them as the smarty panty, you know, right? Smarty pants or something like that. It's a very misunderstood concept, but you know, the Gen Zs also tend to use it, okay? That means the newbies put in a different class altogether, and the average ones are put in a different class altogether. Parents also want their children to be in a batch where there are smarter ones, and they don't want their children to mingle with the average ones. Therefore, the institutions also sometimes endorse and subscribe to the idea that it is okay to have batches wherein one are really smart and the other ones are not really smart who need hand-holding. Personally speaking, I do not endorse that idea, sir. I'm somebody who also believes that you learn with all kinds of students. You understand failure, success, everything together. The moment you are divided, that stratification remains the same, and there is something called as a class thing that comes to us, higher class and lower class. And over a period of time, there's a kind of an aversion that we built. For example, when I was studying, I even now remember my maths teacher, I don't want to name that person, where I was not very much okay because he endorsed one group of students that eventually made me below the average math student. And today when my daughter comes to me to solve a problem, I say, give me 2 days of time because I don't know this concept. Now, what is the reason behind it is the kind of experiences I have had with the teacher, the way he treated me, didn't give me a lot of attention that I deserved, and labeling few of them too good. So how do you look at it? Now today we are speaking about the pedagogical change, shift in generations. Do you also endorse this idea of bifurcating the batches? What is your idea on this?
Thank you for the question. In fact, when I first spoke about it, I made it very clear that it doesn't mean that I or some of my colleagues endorse that system. I, looking back, would feel that it was sort of a trial and error system that was brought into the English department. And I also remember a lot of churning during those days also. There were some people who were not at all happy with the system, not just in the English department, but also in the management, I remember, and also among our other senior colleagues. They were putting forth exactly the sort of concerns that you put forth now. Doesn't it bring in a class system? What are you gaining by separating the students according to their ability? Let me make it very clear here. It was not so much IQ. It was ability in or proficiency in using English as a language. That was what was being tested. But maybe there is a lot of overlapping also. All these H batch students invariably came from English medium schools. They came from the elite schools, and some of them perhaps spoke English at home. And when you put them along with people who come from Kannada medium, we or some of us believed that it was good for all, the teacher, the students, to learn from one another, rubbing shoulders with people who come from different contexts, different backgrounds, different schooling. But then that was the system that had more or less succeeded during those years. And it was considered to be a very innovative practice during those days. And perhaps discipline was one of the things that they had in mind. When we came, this was already in vogue. It was not something introduced while we were there. So we didn't really have a say as to, the pros and cons and the, judgmental part of it. But then if you ask me now, when I look back, what I really feel about it is, it served its purpose at that time. And as I said, the middle batches, maybe C, D, E, and to a certain extent sometimes F also, had heterogeneous students. It was only that so-called top batch and so-called bottom batch that were on, the two ends of the spectrum, so as to say. That was also a double-edged sword, because I remember students who came and, every 6 months we used to give them this test. It was not once and for all. After the first semester exams, we didn't have semesters then, first terminal exams, we once again regrouped them. And 10% there used to be a shift. Some students who did very well in the first terminal exams sometimes were so-called promoted to the B batch, or it used to go up the ladder. And some of them were not at all happy with that. They were comfortable in A batch. So they said, we would rather be in the A batch where we get individual attention, where things are told in Kannada also sometimes. And comprehension became much better for them there. And they felt like fish out of water when they were so-called promoted to the higher batches. But then there were others who felt rather stigma to remain in the A batch. So they wanted to go up. So this is a very complicated sort of a scenario. So I would put it as one of the experiments that succeeded to a certain extent. There were a lot of pluses and minuses, as I remember it. But then discipline, I think, became easier in half the batches, and all the discipline problems came from DE, where basically the younger people were sent. Not because they wanted to send the younger people, but because none of the seniors wanted those batches. So it used to happen that way. There was a pecking order, a sort of internal politics or whatever you call it, wherein everything was grabbed first. And they also had a sort of star value in the department. Somebody who is the best for the lowest batch, a real teacher within the inverted commas, and the other one who was so good in English that he could provide everything outside the textbook. Students will study on their own from the textbook, but this teacher is good enough to give them challenges and talk outside the textbook. So this was how it was. But later, I think, it tapered out, and all of us started going to all the batches, which became much more healthier, I feel, and then we did away with that system.
Okay, sir. Thank you. That also brings to another question to you, sir. You spoke about inclusivity. I think this is one phrase, a word that's been trending across the globe, when we talk about education system. Now, having taught the students for almost 30 years, keeping your hand on your heart, do you really think education system has managed to be really inclusive, at least in the city of Mangalore? Yes.
Left. My heart is also on the left side, no? Yes. I'm very sad to say that we have a long way to go before we become truly inclusive. I think slowly it has begun to dawn on all of us that we need to be inclusive. But I would also still place my hand on the heart or heart on the hand and say that Aloysius took the first steps. I'm very proud to say this. In the year 2000, of course, indirectly, with the coming of Sahodaya, I think a bunch of students, please remember, it is not the Sahodaya of today as an association with Marx. Nothing against it. It is still doing wonderful work, and I'm involved with that. I'm very happy to say. But during those days, I think Alvin sir will remember, and many others who were there at that time will remember, it was purely voluntary. It was an outreach program. It was not an association, and students could volunteer and give their extra time for this. And that is where I think inclusivity started on this campus. So this whole idea of inclusiveness is identifying the fact that people with challenges, be it learning disability, be it hearing, visual impairment, cognitive disabilities, etc., they have an equal right to education just like you and me. And we have a responsibility, not just as a Jesuit institution, not just as a Christian institution, not just as a secular institution, not just as an institution with more than a century of golden legacy behind it. It is imperative that we make space for such students. And I'm very happy to say that Asha, a visually impaired girl, studied PUC in our PUC college many years back, and she is still in touch with me. She is now working as a government employee in Bangalore. And she's doing very well. She suffered from a very rare condition called RP, retinitis pigmentosum, wherein it was a progressive loss of vision. Now she is totally blind. Maybe she wouldn't have got this education, but for the fact that she happened to run into some Sahodayans, and we made this campus accessible for her. We provided her a room in the hostel, and people who were, in the sense, they provided talking books for her, recorded her textbooks, scribed for her, wrote the exams for her, and she did very well. This is only one example I'm giving you. There are many such examples that I can give you. So coming back to your question, inclusion is a must. And for that, I think the teacher becomes very important. Policies the management can make, but finally, It is the teacher in the classroom who has to train himself or herself to accept people in their as is, where is condition. And also understand the fact that except for example, the problem the person has with sight, in all other ways that student is just like you and me. And unfortunately, I can tell you this from experience, we are so prejudiced, so biased, that many a time when there is a blind person, we speak unconsciously in a loud voice, almost like that the person is hearing impaired. This happens every day. And sometimes they tell us, Sir, nange kannu kanodilla, kivi keltade. Yake bobbe hodita idiri anta. This has happened to me. And one last example I want to give, and then I'll come back to you. We all have good intentions, but it is not enough to have good intentions. We need to understand the problem. And this is that classic example I usually give. There is a blind person near a traffic light, and I am filled with good intentions to help that boy. So what I do, go grab his hand and help him to cross the road. And at the end of it, he says, "Thank you very much, but I didn't want to cross the road." So many times we fall prey to our own good intentions without really taking the trouble to understand the need of the student. I think that is part of inclusive education. And I'm very happy that our institution and the Vice Chancellor has moved into this whole idea of making our campus accessible. I think that is the first step. And as a university, I think we should do this and go ahead. And I think we should have, a day should come wherein we have all these students of different capabilities, challenges, studying with our other students, rubbing shoulders with them, learning from one another, and making this a very secure place for all, especially the classroom.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And this is for the newcomers. Sir has been associated with Sahodaya for a long time now. And they have been instrumental in putting up a very beautiful and a meaningful program by name Iconic, wherein they invite people, who despite their kind of disability, because that's a very rough word to use, because they are mentally and emotionally more abled than we are. So, and sir has been instrumental in organizing programs like this. And perhaps this could be a prototype how to understand the real meaning of inclusivity. Thank you so much, sir, for briefing us on that. And now, speaking to our second panelist, Reverend Father Melvin Dukuna, who gave a very beautiful talk on the role of teachers then and now, from authority to facilitation. Sir, or rather, Father, my question to you is, during your talk, you just told something which struck a chord. The presence of women in Jesuit institutions have always made everybody's life very colorful. Having said that, what impact do you feel women in Jesuit institutions have been able to do? I mean, is this a field that has been identified? Is this being an area which is really not cultivated? So from a very, not from a feminist point of view, but we are curious to know how women have made a difference in Jesuit pedagogy of learning.
I hope Jesuits are not around the place. Earlier, Jesuit residence was a cloister. Only in the high school area there was a phone, and people had to call by the phone, and whoever you want to meet, they used to call that person and used to come down. But over the years, things have evolved. Whether it is getting the students in 1986, or faculty members, or in all the forums, including the highest body, that is the Executive Council, we thought we need, even at the global level. Now they are saying, no, we need to open, maybe church will take a little more time. So, but Society of Jesus feels, yes, we need to listen to the, like a gender equality we speak of, we need to listen feminine perspective or role of women as such in various capacities, whether it is HOD of the department maybe, or dean maybe, or director maybe, or principal maybe, various capacities, so that they will be able to bring the other dimension. So that is why we can't have all the time man ki baat only. we need to listen what X is saying, what is Y is saying, what is Z is saying. So that way I feel at times it is not very easy. Even in higher education sector in Karnataka province, at one level we felt, no, what they will think of us, or whether we'll be able to use that inclusive type of a language. So sometimes we are accustomed to a particular expression. So over the years, there is a space, as well as slowly the mindset also is changing. We need to listen to the others. Earlier they used to say, like in the Bible is mentioned, oh, it is a story of a lady story, or it's like a women's story. They may not give much importance for that. But today we are saying, no. We need to listen to the other perspective also and progress further, because I may think in one particular manner, whether it is head, heart, hands, they have to go hand in hand. Then accordingly, we can have a integral type of a formation for our students. So that is why even during the early formation also, there are some, whether it's in the novitiate level or a juniorate level or philosophy level, we have faculty members also studying together. So that way I feel things are changing, and maybe we need to do a little more maybe, but it's in the process.
Okay. As you yourself mentioned that the responsibility of a pro-vice chancellor, in a very lighter note, to agree with the decisions made by the vice chancellor. Having said that, that brings to me the next question. Looking at St. Aloysius for the past, say, at least through records of 145 years, women have evolved. Women have been part of the decision making. Women are taking up the lion's share of responsibilities, despite the change what we go through, at different phases of life. We are committed, and when it comes to deadlines, perhaps we excel. Having said that, don't you think slowly somewhere new policies have to be made wherein women are more accommodated in a way, wherein she's also part of the bigger decision-making authority, wherein she also is provided more space to address women concerns. I'm talking about across Jesuit provinces, where do women, for example, you cannot have a model because the model what you have in India may differ from the model what you have in, say, Africa or maybe in other Asian countries. So having said that, where exactly does the Jesuit ethos collaborate with women? Where is that going, and which side of it is it heading? So what do you see here?
Only when the new ideas come, Jesuits will be able to listen. Ideas can come, like noble thoughts can come from any quarters as such. So there is nothing like, one is when we say about the pedagogy as such, where it begins from, whether it's from the ground level or a trickling effect as such. It can begin from anywhere. If you feel, sometimes what I do is, I will ask persons. Somebody comes and says, these are the difficulties. Then I'll say, can you please give me in writing? Then there is some fear is there. If you have got a fear, then progress is not possible. As Manoj mentioned, everybody has got a freedom to express, but after that, what will be the consequences some are frightened of? So if you're not frightened of the consequences, once you are there already, now it is a rainy season, it is raining, sometimes umbrella will work, sometimes may not work. If you catch cold, you take some tablet maybe, or use a raincoat maybe, other ways. So I think we have to evolve ourselves. I had mentioned, like there is a policy called as policy of non-retaliation. You speak something and you are taken for a task, then you are frightened because you will say, no, let me not take a trouble. I have this, I have that. But as soon as there is a policy is put in place, I already mentioned to our registrar whether you can introduce this policy also. Otherwise, I open my mouth, then tomorrow I'll get the notice. Then I have to say this way, that way. Sometimes we do the preaching in our churches. Then they will say, oh, this is not keeping according to the canon law, or this is going against the church's tradition as such. Tradition has to be mingled well with the contemporary issues as such. So that is why we have to see what is the trend or what is the wave as such. If you can understand the pain and the anguish of our people, you'll be able to respond better. So that is why we are saying you go to the marketplace or you visit the houses and see what is happening. Then I suppose we will be able to do something. Especially when we are doing some research, it should have some relevance. So similarly for the Jesuits also, in a recent meeting we said, whether you are a rector, whether you are a principal, whether you are a teacher, you should be in touch with the students or you should be in touch with the staff members. So when you listen to them, you'll be able to vibrate. So the milk of human kindness flows in such a way depending on your exposure. So I feel it's only a matter of time. Things can change. In the US, we have got nearly 28 universities, and a couple of universities, we have got a lady presidents. So nothing is impossible under the sun.
Okay, thank you for that words of optimism. And I have one last question to you, Father. What are your ideas on Dandam Dashagunam? Because very recently, when I was just watching a news with my mother, there was this news about a student who opened fire in a school. And he was into drug abuse and things like that. And the first thing that my mother told is, ಸ್ಕೂಲಲ್ಲಿ ನಾಲ್ಕು ಬಿದ್ದಿದ್ರೆ ಹೀಗೆ ಆಗ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. So if we had traditional method wherein punishments also became a larger part of learning and inculcating some values. But today we have to be very careful on the language we use. So what do you think? How much has these punishments have to do with the modern pedagogy, or somewhere you also feel that perhaps we could have retained few things? At least there is some fear instilled to understand the difference between right and wrong.
Basically, it is the process of conscious development. Maybe whether you are giving sufficient time to your children or to your students. Sometimes what happens is our parents are busy with the work. They may not see the mother, they may not see the father. They will only see the auto driver and servant maid as such. So their value system becomes a part and parcel of children. So that way it becomes very difficult. So if you are accompanying them, sometimes we ask, because I remember one parent came to meet the son, and son said, I will not like to meet the mother. I said, why? No, she will only come and say, study, 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 nothing more than that. So I don't want to meet my mother. So if the relationships are broken, it becomes very difficult, because earlier parents may say, if somebody does something, I will take a stick and do something. When somebody, the WhatsApp message at least we see, when somebody is saying, I'm going through depression, father is asking, please don't go to that place, it is now rainy, whatever the expression. You don't understand the language or the connection. So I will not be able to say randomly, maintain this or maintain that, but I think it requires a lot of understanding. Sometimes people feel life is meaningless because somehow they felt, I am not loved by my teachers, or I am not loved by my parents. So this love dimension we have to bring in somewhere or the other, so then only I think we can make the rules. So at one level, rules and regulations, other one is the implementation process, but whether you belong to this generation or that generation, ultimately what is the purpose? So that we want to create a good society. So we say Sarvejana Sukhino Bhavantu. Happiness and joy is part and parcel of our life. Whatever you are taught in this class or that class, they may forget. But what remains is the value system, how you made them to feel. So that way I feel I cannot give a fill in the blank saying that this should be done, that should be done. But I think it is a process, I feel, and we need to have the dialogue and a given context what is helpful. Maybe this school will have one particular culture, other school have some other culture. In North Karnataka, when I see Raichur area and so on, or in Dharwad also, every child will come, especially that Ellu Bella Habba is there. That time they will come and prostrate before the teacher. They will wish them well. I went recently to IIT Kharagpur campus in Calcutta. Even the senior most faculty members also, they will greet their colleagues with the falling into the feet as such. So that is their culture, or that is their ways of going about. So that way I feel what is helpful as their expression or what should be kept, I think we need to discuss, debate and come to a basic minimum understanding.
Thank you, Father. Moving on, we had a beautiful session by Mr. Manoj, who spoke on media, mindset, and the new learning culture. You made a mention of how once we had a rule that no mobile phones inside the classroom, but now the classrooms are inside the mobile phone. I think many of us teachers believe that during COVID, there was absolutely no need for the students to have a forced online class, wherein now the task is to how to take away the mobiles from the students. They could have enjoyed life with their parents. They could have been out there, at least in the premises there, at least living a good life. But education system made it mandatory for these students to have these online classes and the addiction towards the mobile phones and things like that. So when you spoke about the mindset, now my question to you is, what difference do you see with the pre-COVID and the post-COVID batch when it comes to their behavior in the class? Especially, there are places where we allow them to use the mobile phones, if it's a filling of a Google form, or it could be some online exams. it's very contradicting. You preach that they are not supposed to, and it's inevitable they are made to use it. So how do you give an explanation to say that it is all right, or where do you draw the boundary here?
In my house, my mom has come up with one rule that just like how we had the land phone, it was stationed at one place, there is a common place where all 4, 5 of us are supposed to keep our phones, mobile phones. Whenever we need to use it, we'll have to pick it up and again keep it back. And our screen time has come down drastically, number one. Number two, this has become such an integral part of students' life that they are looking even for the academic valuation. Now, the new demand from our students, which we are getting in our social media, sir, we need a selfie corner, a permanent selfie corner in Elashes campus. You must have seen in many petrol bunks also, I love Suratkal, I love Mangalore, they have put it. We laughed it out. But now, Christopher sir is here, Vice Chancellor has they're deliberating, and a person has been approached to start a selfie corner in Elashes campus. Because that is also a part of brand building. Instead of standing in some random places, if at all one place is there. So that's the one thing. And then I always believe, there was one student who asked me this question when we were discussing about the impact of teaching, and she told, if Netflix can keep me awake till 3 a.m., you can keep me awake at least for 45 minutes in your class, provided you're confident with your teaching skills. What we can narrate without using any gadgets for that matter, there's one very debatable topic which most of you would disagree. One of the resource person in our FDP said, only people who do not have power will use PowerPoint. I know it is highly debatable. Only those people who do not have power will use PowerPoint, which means over-reliance on technology is not good. Even if there is no PowerPoint or something, you're prepared for it, and all of a sudden there is a power cut. Are you in a position to take the class? And if we have this power of storytelling, without gadgets also, we can make them listen. That is my point of view.
All right. And you also made a mention about the social media validation. So do you think that also students need to seek academic setting wherein we create a space for them to understand how do they scale themselves? If I have to elaborate a little on that, they are very quick when it comes to analyzing. There are other skills, okay? Maybe somebody who's really good in Photoshop, or maybe somebody who's really good in editing. They understand which are the handles where they can really work in. Don't you think that somewhere even our students need to be trained to understand academically where do they stand? Institutions will have to work on some of the mechanisms wherein through social media, they also get an idea as to, look, this is where academically I stand, and that is a retrospection of oneself.
We have already started with this plan. The management has introduced staff of the month, student of the month. And for us, it may not be a big deal. It is just one more feather in our cap. But the moment a student gets a mention in our official page, which has 25,000 followers, it's a big deal for them. Recently, we have had a request from one ACCA student. One of a madam sent her a picture of a student who recently cleared that ACCA. So we made a poster. Now, we had a old student who had cleared the same thing from Elashes 2 years ago, and now she's saying, even my poster should be there. And she already has the certificate, which means more than certificate, the social media validation. We had to discuss this with Bhavya ma'am. She's in charge of the photography part for the convocation. Last year we had this case. We told the students, or we did not give the permission to students or the parents to take pictures at the convocation site because it might disrupt certain proceedings. But then, 5 o'clock the event got over, and there were about, let's say, 1,500 students who have received their convocation. We could upload, ma'am and all stayed back, and we could upload 2 drive links, which mean 1,000 people could access their convocation photos. And that was a Saturday. And rest of the 500 students had to wait till Monday because the staff will have to come and do it in our computer labs. And the amount of messages we got, they said, and one person went on to use the quote, justice delayed is justice denied. So photography, you are denying to us as of now. So this time, I mean, both of us will be doing the MC, and we have been instructed by that photography team that Saturday is our convocation, graduation day. Photographs will be given to them only on Monday. All of them will be getting it on Monday evening. But they say it's too late. We have already dressed up. We have stories and everything is there. What is missing is me taking a certificate from the guest. So that is a challenge. But social media validation, even academically, that makes a difference to them. That is my opinion.
Okay, so St. Aloysius' page has huge followers. That gives a lot of leverage as well, may it be admissions-wise and promotions and things like that. So what has been some of the glaring positives? And where do you think that somewhere there should be a limit in which, even institutions promote? Because recently I was looking at celebrities endorsing educational institutions. Celebrities endorsing Vimal Pan Masala, which is not okay. Because today it's a need of the hour that even institutions will have to endorse. But do you think there should be a measuring rod and say that, yes, this is the limit and no, not beyond it?
Okay, first of all, thanks to you. It's because of your program we could create the content. Simple as that. It's because of them who are sitting in front of the stage. Number two, when it comes to drawing a line, let me be very blunt about it. We have stopped the process of Aloysian Hall of Fame. Of course, there is an error from our side because the question was, what is the parameter? Aloysian eminent Aloysian, which is given by SACA, has some committee, they come up with this thing. So Vice Chancellor requested us to stop it. And what is the reason for this? We used to cherry pick, depending upon their popularity, contribution to the society and all. Okay, I'll be very blunt about it. There's one person who contacted us. He has a picture with our Vice Chancellor when our Vice Chancellor visited to XYZ country. And he has facilitated a plane drive. It's a private plane. He's into, we'll not get in, okay. Now that is okay and everything is a happy ending. But now he's saying, I am responsible for a direct flight from Gulf to Mangalore. Now this comes under Civil Aviation Ministry, and he says, please add my name into Hall of Fame. Now this was a debatable thing. Okay, then we said, we are not in a position to take such a major decision. So there we'll have to draw the lines.
I think for bigger institutions, perhaps when it has a lot of students across the world who have also contributed while the legacy still goes on, somewhere, we could also land in a place wherein we're not able to accommodate everyone. So thank you so much, Manoj, for clearing those doubts what I had. And now moving on to our last panelist, Dr. Vidya, who, as I told you, spoke a lot on the behavior of the students. So my question to you, Dr. Vidya, is over a period, there's been a very different body language of the students, as far as the social media is concerned. There's a very different body language they carry. You spoke about Guru Devo Bhava, and things like that. So do you somewhere feel that because of this too much of heart and soul into the mobile phones, somewhere the teachers are also not getting the kind of the respect what we deserve? One. Two, are we also being judged for not being a tech savvy? Because I remember one of my students told that, ma'am, I've sent you an Instagram request and I have not accepted it. Now my question was, why should I accept you? Why should you be even knowing what's happening in my private life? I don't want you to see my pictures and things like that. And then they make you feel that, you're missing out, the FOMO, what we call. So how do you look at it? How do you look at the relation between social media usage and the dynamics the students have with the teachers?
All right. Monan, to answer that question, I would say it totally depends on the perception of that individual. Now, I would say that I would accept a friend request from a student on Instagram. I would love to see their stories. I would love to see what they post, because I understand what they post is what's in their mind. So next day, when I'm in the class, I can keep that content and give my explanation. If I'm talking about any values, I can keep that whole status or story of theirs in mind and give them inputs indirectly without actually questioning them on what they have posted. It can be political, it can be probably something sexual in nature what they have posted, or something about relationships. So it is completely on perception. I'm very open to social media. I'm active on social media, so I totally agree with that. But I do not understand how would a student put a teacher down just because they are not on social media. I do know teachers who are very active in our own institute, who teach these subjects and who are not on social media at all. But still they can make a huge impact. So it is on what you want to do actually. So if you are not happy, you're not comfortable to be on social media with the students, you do not want them to see your posts, your profile, your status, your stories, it's your wish altogether. But somewhere there, connecting with them is important. That was the core of my talk, that we need to connect. We can't teach them unless and until we connect with them. So connection is now possible with the gadget that they hold throughout in their hand. You can't go to their house to connect with them. Social media becomes an important platform then.
Sorry for the interruption. Please take cognizance of the fact that whatever you put up in your status, the screenshot gets shared in the student group, and sometimes they go to an extent of even tagging the official page. We don't make a mess out of it, we just delete such things. But as ma'am said, it is your personal decision, but they are really curious what's happening in our life. And second thing, if you know it, otherwise you're ignorant. They have also created your fake accounts in some computer game sites. It has happened with me. Even in some dating sites, they have created your accounts because yours is a public profile. They put your picture. I guess the person who swipes right will be utterly disappointed when they meet in person, okay, but because they are liking your profile. But they have done this. And when I just had an interaction with one of my friend who is in cyber crime department, so they said, "Idu aagta irtade sir, eshtanta na hogudu." Thankfully, there is an authentication, blue tick or something, where they can make out whether it is a personally verified profile or not. But please, before sharing, you can take it for granted that one or the other person will easily download your story and share it somewhere for sure.
Yes, to continue with that, as adults, we should have that responsibility as to what we post and where we post. And as teachers, we have to take that responsibility anyhow. And social media is not just the only place from where they can take pictures, they can take it from the official college website too. So it has happened in our own institute as well, where the official picture, the picture from the website was misused. So picture can be taken, even we are sitting right here, our pictures can be clicked and it can be, memes can be made out of that as well. So we need to be totally together with the pictures that we post anywhere, not just on the social media.
Okay, that brings to another question. Do you think the Generation X or millennials, are we really equipped to handle social media? I mean, I always have this doubt because there's no much clarity. There's no lot of education as well. Because everybody is doing, even I want to get into, social media, there is this thing. So do you think that Generation X and the millennials somewhere, though we are not as quick as the Gen Zs in handling and understanding the whole algorithm, so what do you think? Where are we going wrong?
Yes, Dr. Mona, I would again correct that we can be as fast as them. We can be, because social media is something we have to learn. I mean, I do see a lot of colleagues of mine who are quite active on social media. They know to put right captions. They do not to write. It's just that you need to be open to learn. Probably you may not get that on the help option. You may not understand. You have to sit with your students. And I'm lucky. I have 4 generations of people at home. My husband belongs to one generation, me one more. My son is a Gen Z. My daughter is a Gen... what's the last one? Alpha. So we have 4 generations at home. So I have learned it from my son, how to use Instagram and stories and Snapchat and things like that. And he teaches me that. So we have to be open to learning. Again, connect with them somewhere. What happens in my son's life, I have to learn it from social media too sometimes, probably from his Instagram page. So we have to connect.
Thank you. So Father, this question is to you. You were talking about the moral responsibility. How do you see a change in the generation of teachers emerging these years? There's a lot of demand from the students to be cool. We need a cool teacher, who's very open, with whom you can be discussing each and everything. who doesn't actually maintain a body bubble, could be very cordial, and who can listen to whatever things that's going on. Where do you think we should draw a line? If you think, because gone are the days when we used to never open up with a teacher because the fear of being judged. But these days, students do come to us. So, and we are also very open to listen to them, provided we can handle the issues, we can. If not, we recommend them to the counselors. But where do you think the new generation teachers will have to draw a line when it comes to moral responsibilities and the way they deal with the Gen Zs or the Gen Alpha, the batch, which in few years is really going to occupy a bigger, larger force. So what do you have to say about it?
When you speak of ethics or morals, we need to be very up to date with the rules and regulations, whether it's in the church or whether it's in the legal fraternity also. But at the same time, what is required is we need to save life. Because I remember two of my students did not do their project. My tutor said, please sign. I said, no, I have not guided them. So how can I sign? I said, I will not sign because they have not done anything. Then what happened? They took some overdose of some tablets. Then they were there in ICU at Unity Hospital. Then I felt if they die, there will be a problem. So I visited them in the hospital. Then I told them, don't worry, life is beautiful. So doctor told me that nothing to worry about, they are out of danger. Then I said, you can do the assignment. So at one level, you go by the rules, regulations. By the other level, there are some deviations. Whenever there are some deviations are there, we need to spend time. I was part of the malpractice committee group also. One day one student called me and said, Father, my life is gone. I said, what happened? No, I'm caught in the exam. Now what to do? One possibility, in one of our schools, the student jumped from the top floor and it was a very fatal accident kind of thing. So I said, nothing to worry about, that we will have a meeting. Don't worry, just now you prepare for the next exam. One exam, we will see what can be done, what are the circumstances. And the students was excellent in studies. But sometimes parents will say, see, you need to have 95% or you need to have this particular percentage. Then only you can go to this institution, that institution. So students also go through so much of pressure, tension, anxiety, whatever the things are happening. So that way I feel, as teachers, we need to be kind in understanding their situation. If you spend a little more time maybe outside the classroom, or you ask somebody else, I don't have time, can you please deal with this particular person? Sometimes in the hostel, maybe I'm a warden, I'm a director, we have certain role to play. At one level, we'll consider everybody is a possible rogue or a thug. But somebody else will say, see, this particular person, what is his situation? Can you talk to him? Maybe we have got a psychology department. Maybe Dr. Shalini is there. We can tell, can you just listen to him? What is happening? So that when we involve multiple people, when there is a decentralization is there, I suppose we'll be able to understand. Rules are not end in itself. I remember we had a rule in the residence. Nobody will use the mobile during prayer time, during food time, during whatever the time. So nobody was taking the mobile for the prayer hall or for the dining table and recreation. One day it happened like this, rector was outside the gate and he was calling everybody, please open the gate, please open the gate. Nobody had the mobile. Rector is outside. Security also has locked the gate. So then rector said, at least one or two of you take the mobile. So the rules change depending on the situation. So that is why no rule is end in itself. So that way I feel we need to evolve ourselves. And also how to evolve. I think in the campus yesterday, one group had come from Ranchi and we also go to different places. When we listen to their stories, we can adapt ourselves. Now today, sir mentioned mobile itself has become the classroom. I remember a Kannada teacher like Maling Bhatt. He gave an assignment for the students. Kabaliwala, the stories, can you make a little video out of this? Or can you have this particular session?
So sometimes we have to think outside the box because students are very creative. Maybe that particular topic what you are dealing with, can they make some reels out of that? Somewhere or the other, we have to involve their creativity or maybe listen to them. What way can I make this Harshavardhana or Pulakeshi or somebody else relevant to today's context? So I feel change is possible. We need not judge them like gone case, get out from here. Not necessary. Listen to them, but sometimes we may have to express, but send the other person. Sometimes they say, get out of the class, then you send the attendant, just see where is he going, or have that background support also, so that nothing happens to the person. So I think we need to balance. When earlier I remember, Leo's time, Leo as a principal was very gentle, kind, while Castellino was like a lion, so he used to roar. Well, Leo used to say, don't worry, it's okay, we will see what can be done. So I think in the department also, when one is playing father's role, I mean to say maybe a little stricter
Understood,
side,
yeah.
mother role also is required, so that there is a balancing act is there. That is why the role of the women, role of the men, both are required. In a particular department, only women are there, may not be a good idea. So having a balance effect also is a good idea.
Yes. So, it's for you to worry that, there's at least one male in the department, and my sympathies on that man as well. All right. So that brings us to the end of segment 2, our interaction with the panelists. And now the floor is open for a very quick Q&A with all our panelists. I request all the participants kindly interact. If there are anything you feel that you need an explanation or maybe you want to educate yourself with, feel free to frame the questions, stick on to the theme that is on bridging the generation, and here our panelists are ready to really help you out. So especially onto my left-hand side, we have the new faculty members, the Gen Zs. All the Gen Zs, kindly raise your hands. I think now you should be aware. Okay, all the Gen X. All right. Okay, the millennials. Okay, the lost generation. Any Atmas? Or no, there is one. Yeah, Dinesh sir raised his hand. Okay. All right. So can we have a few questions from the audience as well? You can be blunt. You can ask your questions to any of the panelists, or anybody can take these questions as well. So we have a volunteer with the mic right there. So anybody who is willing, just raise your hands. You can just stand and make yourself identifiable.
I'm Dr. Zina. My question is to Father Melvin. This is about the bridging the gap. I'm from the Gen X, am I not passing my values to Gen Z, who are my children? So what happens then? Are they going to have an identity of their own, or are they taking some part of us also with them? Same goes with the teachers. We are Gen X teachers or millennial teachers. Majority of them are millennial teachers. Now, what happens to those students coming under their contact? Are they not passing out the values system which they had, the way they were brought up? Is it not going to them also?
I remember one song, 1 + 1 = 3. Then you ask a question, in mathematics it is 2. But sometimes what happens is, whichever the generation they meet, if there is an openness to listen to one another, there is something called as synergy. When we think of any friendship or a relationship, I remember on Christmas Day I got a message, Happy Christmas. Then I asked, may I know who is this person? And the person replied saying that, this is Hema. Hema, I was trying to recollect which Hema, where I met, how exactly Hema. Then I am having that world of imagination, who is this Hema? Then he replied saying that, this is Hema Chandra. So I see, in the process of learning, because we need to accompany, whether it is children or whether people from different backgrounds, we need to, so sometimes I think, whatever I say is absolute, whatever I say is correct. Not necessary. That is why we are saying, telling the parents as such, You go accompany the children. When you are going to city center, go with them. Listen to what they are talking. So I think in that process we learn. Because we had one of our senior brothers who was from Malayalam background. He wanted to learn Kannada. So one Kannada, the person from Kannada background used to teach him. At the end, this Kannada person learned Malayalam rather than he learning Kannada. So that is possible because we need to interact with the other. So that is why when you select in the group as such, sometimes what happens is I will go and meet only my category people. May not be necessary. In the staff we see, oh, I know X, I know Y, I know Z. Meet alpha, beta, gamma also. So when you talk to them, we change accordingly. So that is why observation is very important. You understand their difficulty, their struggles. They also will try to understand you. Oh, so and so is not very familiar. How to handle the mobile. In the classroom, sometimes I don't know how to connect the laptop and the projector. Students, I'll say, can you please do it? They will do it in no time. So we need to be humble, open, so that change is possible. Whatever the wave is there, like when you go to the seashore, if you do not know how to adjust, then you will go inside the sea only. But if you know how to adjust, you can, that surfing and other things are there. We may not know, but we can learn it. So that is why go through some sessions and maybe, I don't know whether psychology department can help us or some other department can help us. Knowing self also is very important. What are my feelings? What are my difficulties? What are those slippery areas where I have to be careful? Sometimes they used to say in the panel discussion and so on. I remember Ronnie Prabhu and somebody else. See, if I get angry, just tell me you are getting angry. Be cool and calm. So that is also helpful. So that I need not react to a situation, but rather respond what is helpful. So that way I feel whatever these generations are there, it is at one level, maybe is a Western concept. But here in a given existential reality, we need to appreciate, understand. If you consider your mother or your grandmother are good for nothing, they are a liability, then the child also will think, they are liability, they are good for nothing. They are only meant for the home for the aged. But if you consider, no, these are wonderful people, they are experienced people, we can listen from them, you help them, you assist them, they will also come. I think in that context, Sahaya plays a very important role. To understand, these are also good people. They are not in a good situation. Whether they are blind people, whether they are deaf people, whether they are dumb people, whether I can give them the chance to express. That is how I see the situation.
So, Father, next time you can expect a question from, this time it's Hema, Rekha, Jaya Mattu Shushma. So you will have to make a list of all the possible names of men. We'll start from this. So thank you on a lighter note, but thank you so much. Okay, to continue, yes, sir.
Zina ma'am, I was just thinking while Father was replying to the question, I think we all carry our stories. I'm talking about our generation. And we have this urge to tell our stories. I think we should tell our stories. I think we are living in an age where nobody has time. We don't have time to tell our stories, nor do our children get a chance to listen to our stories. And so far as values are concerned, I feel values I might be wrong. I feel values cannot really be taught. I think values will be caught. And maybe it will happen in the most indirect way possible. And I always consider parents and teachers to be like goldfish in a fish bowl. We have no place to hide. We are very, very, people are watching us all the time. And I think that is where I think values will be transferred. Only the values which these people need now will be caught. I think the other values which were relevant only to our age might die a natural death. This is personal, it's my personal opinion. So I think the best thing we can do is spend more and more time with our children, tell them our stories, and also be willing to listen to their stories and maybe meet somewhere in the middle.
Thank you, sir. So questions from the audience?
I think I just want to clear Dr. Mona about the bifurcation of students when we were students in St. Aloysius. I was a student here in the 1984 to 80, I think PUC, and it is a composite course. It was so. I was not worried about bifurcation. I don't know how they bifurcated actually. And it was not so complex to any of us. We didn't bother at all. Because it was so inclusive, there was no sort of bias in thinking why they have put us into this batch or that batch. But it happened scientifically because while interviewing the candidate, they have assessed their capacity to speak in English. So accordingly, they have taken. I don't know what happened after I passed out from this institution, but I really feel that there was no intentional bifurcation which affected the students. We never bothered. We were very happy with any group of students. And I was in, I think, C group. Professor Victor was my teacher. So I think now we think about all these sort of what you call complex mindset where we have not been included, or we think this is not right, this is wrong and all. So somewhere I think generation also makes a difference. We were in a better condition to understand human relationships. Thank you.
I appreciate your perspective, sir. Thank you so much. So do we have more questions? We have few minutes to go. So before we
Anybody?
prep ourselves for lunch, we could take some more questions.
Nobody is there means then I will ask question. Yeah, somebody is there. Yeah.
My question is to Father Melvin Dicona. We speak about Jesuit pedagogies, context, evaluation, action, and so on. So from Generation X to Generation Alpha, have any pedagogies changed or have they become outdated? If so, how can we right now replace them?
This question is out of syllabus. So that way, it is difficult for me to answer. But at the same time, as I mentioned to you, people have been trying to evolve. So we have youth groups are there, where they would like to listen to them, spend time with them. So that is why we need to spend a lot of time to listen to them. So that is why a question was asked, can we call our students also for this kind of a session? They have listened to us and then they will say, I don't like this, I don't like that, but they must have confidence that you will not find fault with them. So then we can improve as such. So we have those kind of sessions also to get the feedback from the students. Sometimes when the feedback is given, if you remember when we met the staff members for the feedback, sometimes they'll say, no, I know who has given this. So we go to this narrow kind of thing. Another way of looking at it is, there needs to be certain improvement. We can communicate to the students also, try to understand. Sometimes they'll say, no, I don't want this teacher only. Then we'll say, now tomorrow you are going to one particular place for the job. If everybody says, I do not want, how will you improve? Maybe first year it will take some time because I may be accustomed to a particular system. I was there in the, second batch for the English as such. Masudo used to be there or Sunny Tharapan used to be there. They were going outside the text only. But simple ordinary students, we found it extremely difficult. Maybe your marks are excellent. Your marks will not show that you are proficient in the language as such. Maybe we memorize and do some certain things. So that way I think we need to go to that particular generation. So my request is, if you are spending 3 hours, 4 hours with mobile and telling your children do not spend, become difficult. So that is why whatever we say, we need to accompany them. So that is why in some places what they've done is, they'll give them the books. Or they'll say, we'll have a little competition. Everybody will have some hour for this. Because obedience is helpful, but obedience cannot be forced obedience. If the children feel very happy, because we would like to go to this particular place or something or the other. So we need to listen to one another, share our stories. Jesuit pedagogy is, you see the signs of the time and respond accordingly. In a particular place, this is helpful, yeah, you put it that way. Because at some time we feel, in summer heat here, you are having this coat and something else, may not be a good idea. Simple, ordinary cotton should be sufficient. No, we have got this tradition. Tradition is required, but tradition is not in itself. That is why if you can ask certain alternative type of question, some critical type of questions, not so palatable type of question, then the creative will come out. So I remember Indian Institute of Science, one professor came to the classroom with short pants. I was shocked. Arey, he's coming with this kind of a dress as such, because he is just coming from the field as such. So when you are going to the field, what dress is helpful, that we use. Because at the end of the day, uniform is only a help as such, to make sure that all are included. But if you say, uniform only is the thing, no. We have to go beyond. What is the purpose behind this particular type of a practice? So that way I feel we need to listen everyone and see what is happening to you. You talk to them, these are my difficulties, these are my struggles. I suppose children also will be able to understand, or our students will be able to appreciate that.
Okay, just to add a little, as my PhD was also on the Christian missionaries in coastal Karnataka, a post-independent period, especially when we have the Second Vatican, which came in, it tried to bring in a lot of changes in the entire way how the missionaries worked throughout the world. To give a very simple example, when I worked on the women missionaries, especially, they had to give up on wearing the habit and switch on to sari. Now, why? It is because they wanted the third world countries to accept, so culturally to get amalgamated with them. And if they would have not chosen to change as per time and have been very much sophisticated to cling on to their traditions, perhaps we would have not evolved over a period of time. So having said that, I feel that missionaries over a period of time have brought in a lot of change. Perhaps I don't know how much of study has been done on that, but definitely there's a lot of new wave that has come over a period of time. And that way Jesuits have always been, as I say, way ahead of times. Perhaps opening this college for the women as early as 1985 itself was a biggest decision then taken. And then when, as a reaction, when there were institutions from other communities, again it was a challenge. So they had to accommodate by bringing in new policies. So I think there has been a wave of evolution in the pedagogy that has been practiced over a period of time. Yes, can we have more questions, please? We have last 10 minutes, so.
Hello, yeah. I just want to tell you that this was one of the best sessions that I participated. This kind of sessions across the ages and sharing your ideas, very critical, at the same time dialogue and conversations, as you call it. So I would like to congratulate the moderator as well as all the panelists for a wonderful presentation that you have made. Secondly, it is a more of a reflection. There are no questions. Is there something called, as Dr. Vidya mentioned, feeling that ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೀಗೆ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ. During our times, there was nothing like this, with the tone that the current generation is going to dogs or puppies. The whole idea is of, what is it called? You feel very, sympathetic towards the others. That is one part. Is there something about each one of our generations, a trap, wherein we feel that somewhere our generation was better than the later generation? This is one question. I have this question. I have also encountered this question. That has led to a lot of problems also in my approach to the students in class. So, keeping myself as a part of it, is there something in each one of us where we feel that our times were the best, and in contrast to the current generations, that it is going to dogs kind of a... And we become a part of this narrative. It becomes a habit. We become a part of this narrative. That is one part. And again, segregating these generations according to ages and all that, I had a question. I had asked someone else earlier. I found in terms of modernity and tradition, always we feel that older generations are traditional and younger generations are more liberal and whatever other adjectives. But I personally feel that in my family and also many families that I have seen, my grandmothers and so many grandmothers around me were much more liberal than their children in so many issues. I don't want to mention. They were more open, they were more supportive, and they were more modern in their thinking than the others. It may be because of the roles they play, people change. So I have seen that. So basically my whole idea is that each one of us have this compulsion to project our experiences as maybe little better than the earlier ones. Therefore, this is just an observation. This is what I personally feel. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I want the newcomers to just release yourself from every kind of anxiety you have. A couple of days back, when all the research supervisors, we had a session by Dr. Amitabh Anand, such a fruitful session, wherein he was enlightening all the research supervisors and made us realize that you as supervisors are no less than gods. Because the research scholars adore you, because for them you are everything. But you have your expectations on them. They will have to be doing the research work the way we did it. They should be least using the AI. So he was just speaking very contradictory, and he was saying that come out of those thoughts. It's a new generation, there's a different way how they work. Understand from their point of view, what are they expecting from the Generation X teachers. It can also happen that Generation X teachers, not everybody, but few could be very stringent to say that, look, this is how my teachers trained me and this is how I'm going to be. You wish me good morning because I am senior, and I will not wish you good morning because you're a junior. But today we are in times where it is okay to give up the ego, to give up all these qualifications and years of experience, because at the end of the day we are working for the same institution. Sometimes even I feel that there is somewhere generation also, there's a invisible block we are building. So I want to ask the newcomers here, how do you expect the Generation X and the millennial faculty here of St. Aloysius to be with you all? What are your expectations? Be blunt, zero judgmental we are. Be very open. Let's have a conversation on this. What are your expectations? Is there a kind of a fear that's built with the director, with the HODs, and there's constant fear? We appreciate your views. When Father was saying that, sometimes when nobody should ask a question against something, but I always believe there's this one Instagram page of Mr. Raghav who talks about a good manager, and he says that a good manager or a vice principal is not a person who would say yes to everything, but would contradict. Because where there is contradiction, there emerges new ideas. This is how today, administrative roles are looked. So for the newcomers, or maybe even for the millennials, what are your expectations as you get into the portal of St. Aloysius? Where do you think that you should be heard? What are those things which are actually holding you back from being yourself? I think this is a platform, this is the right time we talk about all these things, and even I don't mind that, we being okay about it. This is inclusive atmosphere that, yes, madam. Yeah. Please introduce yourself and which subject you're teaching, and you can ask your question.
So, I'm Rajashri, so I'll be joining the Department of Psychology. So I had a few thoughts jotted down, and as I'm allowed to be a bit blunt, I think I'm going to utilize that opportunity as well. If the objective is to bridge the gap, so I think we're all clear on that, right? So the objective is to bridge the gap. And before I continue, I'm from the Gen Z, so we were asked to raise our hands. So anyway, if the objective is to bridge the gap, why are we alienating our problems? In the sense, I want to add to what Dr. Melvin sir asked, the first part of his question. Is there no way you guys can relate to us? I want to know that. Especially, ma'am spoke about mental health, and it was, we extensively have been discussing about how our students talk about their mental health problems. I think they are more aware is what it is. I think even my mom, who is in her 60s, I can see that she goes through anxiety. She does wishful forgetting because she doesn't want to remember certain things. She never discusses certain things, meaning all of you guys were also going through problems, have problems, mental health issues. It's just that the Generation Z and alpha, we know how to articulate it better, I think, and we are also okay to articulate it. We are every day fighting the stigma that might come when we articulate it, but then we still do it because we know without voicing it, there is no way out. So my question or my sort of an input to this or contribution to this is that I just want to know, can you not alienate us, and is there a way you can relate to us? Generally want to know, is there a way you can relate to us? Because I can relate to you when you sit as a panel. Whenever you speak, there are a lot of times I nod along and I agree, and I want to know, is there a way you can do so towards us?
Okay, let me just put it in context. Would you help us by saying that, identify some areas where you think that there's a misconnection, where we are not able to understand the language of the Gen X? No, Gen Z, that's right, yeah.
So I just kept it to just mental health. It's, I'm just trying to talk only from that perspective. But in all terms, in the sense that, so when we talk about inclusivity, inclusive education, I think today's generation is more aware in terms of social justice and equality in a more rigorous manner than the previous generations. We are more aware in what subtle ways one can be discriminated, because we live in an urban setup, and these sort of discriminations are very, very subtle, and we experience it on a day-to-day basis as well. So I'm not exactly telling one area per se, but just how the societal fabric, how it is at this point is completely, it's very subtle, and it's very very indirect, because we are all educated, we all speak a very sophisticated language also, but then lot can get lost in translation.
Yes, we understood. I think Father would take this question. Yes, Father.
Rajeshri, your question is valid. I don't know how to answer as such. Maybe I will go to chemistry. In chemistry, there are different types of solutions. Some are miscible, some are immiscible. Oil and water, we may have for a while. They may mix, but after some time they will be different. So maybe some other type, when we add the soap for the water, it may remain for a longer time. Everybody has got their own difficulties, but at the same time, sometimes we need not discuss in public forum. Because I remember I had gone to Bendurwell, some pub was there, and one of guests had come. So he said, can you come along with me? Then I told him, I'll come, provided there is a cubicle, because where there is a privacy is there. Imagine my students are there, or our staff members are there, then there is a problem. So I said, okay, so we went to the cubicle. After some time, one staff member comes and says, introduce himself, I am so-and-so, can I join you? But meanwhile, I know this particular person is suffering, and he is part of AA group as such, Alcoholic Anonymous. So I was just wondering, he will go and tell his wife, you are telling me not to go? I met my colleague, he is there only, and he will justify. Sometimes we have to see the situation also. So wholesale way, we need not discuss. But at the same time, for the Jesuits, we have got something called as a spiritual father concept, or we call like a spiritual conversation. Whenever you are going through some difficulties, maybe if somebody knows driving, whether it is a young person, provided they have got a license, anybody can drive. Similarly, in your life also, you find somebody who can listen to you in a transparent manner without being judgmental. Whether young or old, we can share with the other person. Sometimes we tell the students also, may know what is happening to you, and they will say, these are my difficulties. So before committing suicide as such, when dog comes and touches the person, and the person feel, for the sake of dog, I need to live. Or some small instances, or sometimes the imagery may be, I look at the coconut tree outside our campus, and it is there only, same place, but it is so nicely it is growing. Though it is not mobile, but it is growing, so much of fruits. So maybe in life also, somewhere or the other, whether maybe sometimes we are up a particular age, you are also going through emotions.
Sometimes we feel out of place. I don't know this, I don't know that. But as soon as you ask, sir, can you just help me this corrections? Mona, can you see whether you can make it a little more flowery or attractive? People will help us. So I feel we need not have that kind of a feeling. I think one of our former principals, he had gone to the operation theatre. And afterward they wanted to remove the sutures. When you go to that theatre, they will take you only with that gown only. And the doctor, he is there with that just the gown, and the doctor is introducing, so and so is the principal of this college, and he's feeling, doctor, fast you finish the thing, then you introduce, because once you are naked in the operation theatre and somebody is introducing so and so, it becomes not very easy. So similarly, for the cure, our nakedness to be revealed to the doctor so that they can help you. Sometimes the topical application may be helpful, but sometimes maybe chemotherapy, maybe surgery, these things are required. Depending on the type of a person, where you are standing, we need to communicate and make the necessary changes so that we'll be able to live in a peaceful manner, in a manner which is helpful for the well-being of the society.
Thank you, Father. I think Dr. Vidya has something to add for your question.
Yes, to add on to that, ma'am, if you said that we don't opine, we don't give our, we don't open up. Why is that? We do. Why many of us don't, many of us do, but many of us don't, is because we had less access to it. We didn't have social media. I mean, I'm from social work background, so we know what depression is. But otherwise, people were not aware. What's the meaning of depression? What's the meaning of anxiety? People were not aware. But we have come out of it. We talk about it. We voice our opinion. In the initial days of our life, we were told that if somebody troubles you on your cell phone, sends you a bad message or whatever, we were asked to block. But we have crossed that stage now. We don't block a person. We file a complaint. We go to the police station. We file a complaint. If required, we slap them too. So we have come out too. The transition was slow, but we have done that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last.
One last question.
Yes, this is not a question actually. I really don't know what generation I belong to. Okay.
You're a lost generation, you have.
Yes, I don't know. But recently I just came to know that all these generations, X, millennial, so many things, yeah. And now morning, you clear it very well, yeah. And I have something to say actually. I don't know whether I'm going to reach you or not. I'm able to reach you or not, I don't know. But
so
I'm
just shoot.
Yes.
Ask.
If I go to Machili Hotel, I will order for anjal meenu. Okay, anjal fish. And my friends are there. And the waiters bring them and keep it on the table. Okay? Immediately I click the photo. And I will upload in this thing. Social media, Instagram or Facebook, anything. Manoj sir told so many things about this, okay? And expecting that likes, okay? If I don't get sufficient number of likes, immediately I commit suicide.
Sir, please, we need you.
Yes. Because I'm telling you that here, psychology department is there, counselors are there, and so many social work madam is there. So I'm just thinking this. I think we are running behind kind of showbiz, I think. Or we are expecting people to appreciate us or recognize us. This is what I'm just thinking. And the psychological thing behind this, I don't know. Even our students also, immediately, they want us to recognize them in the class. Most of the time. So this is why this is happening? What psychology working behind this? I'm just asking one more question that didn't our ancestors have this psychology? This is my question. And I'm just again asking that, is this very close to a narcissist behavior? Okay, this is my question.
Okay. All right, I'll take that question. As far as Anjal is concerned, if Anjal doesn't have any objection, we don't have any objection if it gets uploaded into the Instagram. The second thing is, you said our ancestors did not have this mindset. I have met one grandma who said, and almost she's into public life since her 30s, 40s. I am wearing this sari after 10 years because I don't want to repeat my saris. They did not have the social media, but they had their self-glorification in their own way. So, meanwhile, there are people, sometimes if we approach them also, recently we had done a video on the people who have given the scholarship. So then we were advised, he is not the only person who has contributed to the institution, there is one more XYZ, do the video on him. And when we approached the person, he said, no. Whenever I feel like donating generously to the institution, I'll do it. But my photos, I've given it as an anonymous contribution, only you know it. Okay, so the mindset could be different. Okay, so every time we can't jump into a conclusion that narcissists, because somewhere we'll have to allow people to live their life as well. But only they have to decide where to draw the line.
Yeah, thank you so much. So if everybody is doing, it's not necessary we do it. And with that, we take one last question. Okay, so we will take last two questions. Kindly be brief, to the point. Yes, madam, you can go on first. Ma'am, I can take your question later.
Hello. I'm Sushmita from the Department of Psychology. I actually do not have a question, but I liked the question he asked. It was very relevant to the current scenario. And I think, sir, to actually give an opinion from my end, one of the things that we're experiencing today is the gap, not mostly because of generation, but the way we communicate. So the direct human interaction has a big gap when you compare it with digital interaction. If I were to post a picture today, right now, in 5 seconds, I'm sure I'll get 25 likes. But how many of us actually experience, while we walk, everybody greeting us and saying that, oh, you look good today? Maybe today when I was walking in, I heard 2 people compliment that my sari was good. That's it. But if I were to post the same thing on social media, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get more than 10 comments. So this gap between how interaction happens between the digital and the inhuman interaction is something that people are trying to compensate for. So mostly when you realize that in person I'm not going to be visible to people as much I'm visible in a digital space, I would rather prefer the digital than the person. So I think when we try to reduce this gap, most of the way we communicate can be different and the way we feel about ourselves can be different, and where we seek validation also can be to some extent connected, bridged between the in-person and the digital. That's what I feel.
Yeah, that's a wonderful observation. We appreciate that. And we'll move on to the last question of the day. Yes, ma'am.
I think it's not a question, rather kind of understanding I thought probably is very important today. The topic that is bridging the gap, generation shifts and the pedagogical change in education. Of course, it speaks about education. But look at the kind of market that we have and the neoliberal economy that is actually wants to build up this gap, rather build up the gap between the generation. I think from the whole lot of the last generation, probably, I think you have Gertrude, who starts with that understanding, and today you have Hove and others who talk about it. But I think, as somebody said, when I was a young child, my grandma always wanted me to be in the school, and my plight was also not different when I was a mother. I wanted my children to be in the school because it is difficult to manage with the energy that they have. Now, the very fact that we are buying the arguments and trying to be in the market and trying to say that, this is the best, indication for us to divide me between the other generation itself is a faulty idea. These are all sociological concepts, and they should be limited only to understand sociologically the differences that have taken place because of the kind of, system, economic system that we have evolved, the capitalistic, society that we have evolved. I think beyond that we start. I think there is a lot of, disadvantages of, somebody would say that, look at me, culture, we were just discussing about it. And this is something where I need to train and prune too, because I should also know, I think today as a teacher, I should know how to train myself and my students towards the disadvantages of this digital technology. And that is more important probably, in bridging the gap. And I think I very well resonate with what the psychology department, those faculty, I'm sorry I couldn't actually pick up your names. I'm not good at it. Probably as a human I should be doing it, right? So, if at all you talk about the digital and the other divide has to be built up. What I'm saying is probably, I think as a generation, my mother, my grandma, somebody actually voiced it out. They did not have the difficulty of connecting. neither we have a difficulty of connecting with the younger generations. And I never believe that the present generation is a generation which is going to dogs. When I was a student, I remember giving, essays or maybe speeches where we said, what is happening to this generation? Today, I think this can be there, where we have a little frustration where we are. In my class, there were students who were so difficult to manage my classes of 118, where there were students who knew all the ways of distracting me. Today, I think my difficulties are less, but at the same time, mental health issue is not new. And therefore, I think it is how we actually look at, and how the market is asking us to look at, and how we are becoming, trapped in this old, dynamics is something we need to. And therefore, the sociological concepts we need to actually understand, and then trying to see how do we actually understand the present education system, and how do we connect to each other.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. We understand the concern. We are still of the generation that who do not believe in all these kinds of divides the generation bring. We can gel with any age. But the thing is, this is the language of the day. When it comes to the dating apps, when it comes to marriage, when it comes to so many things, generation makes a lot of difference. Because they think that can bring in a lot of changes or problems in a long run. And this has been endorsed by social media. This has been endorsed by the capitalistic, because there is a superficial kind of a divide, and definitely we need to work against this kind of divide and think that world is a happy place for everyone to live and nothing can divide us. Thank you so much for the panelists for being here. Thank you so much for the audience. Over to Sastra.
All right, so quite a session today. Something that I also want to add is just going to take a minute to what Rajashri ma'am said. I'm actually from a younger generation, right? So when I joined here a year back, I think I spoke to most of you all here because of being in the position of HR as well. So when I came in, my first thought was, oh, I am young. How on earth am I supposed to collaborate and work a lot with a lot of the senior faculties here? Registrars, directors, deans, HODs are the people that I work very closely with. But what has helped is being open in communication. So luckily, I'm in an institute that is open to communicate. So let it be all Windsor or the directors. I'm someone with ideas, so I come up with these ideas. And even in my department, Dinesh sir is from a different generation altogether. We disagree quite a lot, okay? So whenever I tend to tell some ideas, he might not be okay with it. When he tells me some ideas, I might not be okay with it. But what helps us is being open. In that point in time, okay, why is this person coming up with this idea? Right? So that tends to be very helpful, and that is what helped me, being from the younger generation as well. So I think open to communicate, open, and a lot of the senior faculties here are very open to listening to you as well. Yes, sometimes there might be complications and all of that as well, but it has been helping us so far. So we also need to understand where they are coming from, and when they are speaking to us, we also need to. So that sort of helps in avoiding any sort of miscommunication as well. And that is something that I wanted to add. With that being said, I would like to thank all our panelists for having such diverse point of views as well and having such a open discussion. I don't think we've had this recently so far, and I'm very glad that we did. So I would like to thank our panelists, Dr. Charles Furtado, Father Melvin Dicuna, Mr. Manoj, as well as Dr. Vidya. Let's give them a huge round of applause. And of course, for our moderator for moderating the session so well, so seamlessly as well. So once again, let's give them a huge round of applause. With that, we have concluded with our first half of the session.